So now not going to face a review board. The feeling inside the Navy is this has become so controversial, be very tough for them to get an impartial review. And the bottom line is the Navy very much right now wants to move on.
The balloons have been grounded by strong winds for today's parade in Philadelphia, but they did fly in New York for the traditional Thanksgiving parade there. China is accusing the U.S. of internal interference after the U.S. signaled support for pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. I'm Mike Moss.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. Global stocks slid along with U.S. futures today after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong protesters. The move raises worries about the prospects for an interim trade deal between China and the U.S. No need to wait until tomorrow, Black Friday, to do your holiday shopping. A lot of retailers are opening their doors today.
In a battle to get hold of your holiday shopping dollars, you can begin shopping 5 p.m. local time today at Macy's, Kohl's, Target, and Best Buy. Most JCPenney stores will open at 2 p.m., and Walmart store times will vary by location. But chains like Nordstrom, Costco, The Gap, Home Depot, Lowe's, and TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods all closed. And state laws in Maine, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island prohibit all stores from opening their doors on Thanksgiving Day. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Food prices are climbing fast in the world's biggest emerging markets, posing a possible inflation threat. Asia's two largest developing economies face a price surge for staple products, pork in China, onions in India, that are central to consumers' diets. Global central banks are approaching the end of the year with a collective shudder at the risky behavior that their low-interest rate policies are encouraging. Bloomberg's Greg Jarrett reports.
Policymakers from European central banks and the Federal Reserve are among those raising cautionary flags at potentially unsafe investing, stoked by their efforts to flood economies with ultra-cheap money. Stock indices from the U.S. to India are at records, and low sovereign bond yields have pushed funds into properties seeking better returns. Greg Jarrett, Bloomberg Radio.
Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 1/3% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 1/4. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2. And the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
I'm Barry Ritholtz, and this is a special Thanksgiving Day edition of Masters in Business. Today, my guest is Brian Grazer. He is the co-founder of Imagine Entertainment with his partner Ron Howard. He has produced such seminal films as Apollo 13, Liar Liar, 8 Mile. He is behind the television show Arrested Development and 24 and so many others. His films and television work have grossed about $40 billion. Is that right?
Yes.
That's as good a number as any.
Yeah.
And his most recent book is called Face to Face, The Art of Human Connection. Let's talk a little bit about how human connections have helped you in your career. In your early life, you weren't much of a reader.
Right.
But you learned that conversations with people became crucial to your intellectual growth and professional growth. How did you reach this insight, and how has it come out even to this day? How does it manifest?
Well, I mean, the techniques of which are embedded in these stories in this book that we're talking about called Face to Face, The Art of Human Connection, because you can't get promoted without looking at somebody,
right?
Connecting. So, but I've always tried to have stories that had universal themes. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about A Beautiful Mind, which we won an Oscar for, or I did, and the thing about that is that the universal theme wasn't really about schizophrenia, and it wasn't about winning a Nobel Prize. It was much more about love. That love, the power of love, which is a universal force, can get you through a lot. In this case, it was schizophrenia, right. And then his ability to win a Nobel Prize in economics. So basically, I found that by taking the opportunity to look at people when I walk through the street in New York, as opposed to my phone, because I can look at my phone all the time. That's always going to be there.
Right.
And I love my phone. And it provides me with so much information. But if I'm walking through the street in New York, I'm looking at people and I'm trying to feel or intuit like what's going on in the world right now.
Right.
I thrive on human connection because human connection is you feel people's hearts, and you don't feel their heart on an iPhone, and they don't feel your heart. And the only way to move people enough to promote you, or in the case of romance, move the girl to want to like you or be with you or see something intrinsically valuable, is through their heart, through a spirit. It's just that's just really the way it works. And so whether you're in technology or whatever the thing you're doing, you have to have face-to-face connection. Otherwise, you're just not going to advance your cause.
Let's talk about some of the communicators you discuss in the books.
Okay.
Some people that you've engaged in conversation, and it's changed the course of at least entertainment and probably some people's lives.
Sure. So I was making a movie with Spike Lee.
Which film was that?
It was called Inside Man.
Oh, of course.
Shot right here in your city.
Denzel Washington, right?
So basically, I'd known Spike Lee for a while. We both were nominated for Oscars. He for Do the Right Thing, and I was for another movie. And so we met each other under a very privileged situation. And I love Do the Right Thing. It was just so inventive in so many ways. Right. Cinematically, he handled a pretty heavy subject in the most evolved way cinematically. No one has ever done that. And I always wanted to work with him. So many years have gone by, and we just never could figure it out. And I put a lot of effort into trying to figure it out. Now it's about 8 or 9 years later, and I have a movie that I'm going to make, and he came in to talk about it, but we saw it a little bit differently. And I walked him to the elevator. I pressed the button, and it had to go 7 floors. And in those singular moments,
right,
he looked up at me like he's never looked at me before. I felt it differently. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, "This is the movie I want to make." It's called, and he pulled it from behind his back. It's called Inside Man. I already had another director on it. But he looked me in the eyes and said, "I want to make this movie. It's going to be successful. And more importantly, it's going to be a successful work relationship for you and me. I promise you it'll be a great experience."
Literally an elevator pitch, 7 floors.
That's what it was. And I felt him. And he really probably did exactly, he did one of the techniques that I would describe in the book, actually. But he did it, and I felt the power of it, the authenticity of it. I felt that I felt his soul.
Right.
And honestly. And so I said yes. And I let the other director go, which wasn't easy. And
expensive?
It was a little expensive, but worth it.
Right.
Because this became like one of the most profitable, maybe the most profitable movie for Universal that year.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I know the most profitable movie for Spike in his career, and huge for Denzel and me. And
that's fantastic.
So it was a real big win, and probably as importantly, it ended well. He did provide me a great work experience. He collaborated. He's awesome. He's talented and collaborative. You can't beat that.
Coming up, we continue our conversation with Brian Grazer, film producer and co-founder of Imagine Entertainment, discussing the business of film and television.
You're listening to Masters in Business with Barry Ritholtz on Bloomberg Radio.
Hey, y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients, and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us number 1 in client support, number 1 in firm leadership, number 1 in operational support, number 1 in compensation, number 1 in professional development support, and number 1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com. And feel the power. Member FINRA, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power Award information, visit jdpower.com/award.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
My name's Ian, and I run the Christmas Centres for Crisis. Many people in Britain are homeless, stuck in hostels, sleeping on floors, even on the street. You can change this. Our Christmas Centres provide people with food, safety and support, and show them how Crisis can help them find a home and a job in the year ahead. You can reserve a place at Crisis this Christmas for just £28.87. Search Support Crisis Reserve and help someone take their first step out of homelessness this Christmas. Thank you.
Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Dreaming of prepping that perfect Thanksgiving feast? Let TuneIn lend a hand with our collection of cooking podcasts, like the Bon Appetit Foodcast.
All right, guys, we have 10 minutes to discuss your expertly spiced and glazed roast turkey. It starts
and
now.
Good food.
So welcome to Good Food.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So how many years have you been hosting your own?
It varies from year to year and by my own.
Search Thanksgiving on TuneIn to take your turkey day table to the next level.
Cutting for the net, scores! On the goal line, Marshawn scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
You can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Get your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
After President Trump intervened in the case of Navy SEAL Edward Gallagher, the Navy now says it has canceled a peer review board concerning 3 other SEALs. Correspondent Barbara Starr with more from the Pentagon.
The president intervened in the Gallagher case over the objections of the Navy Secretary and said he would keep his Trident, his SEAL status, no matter what. Now, because of all this controversy, the other SEALs, they are also now not going to face a review board. The feeling inside the Navy is this has become so controversial, be very tough for them to get an impartial review. And the bottom line is the Navy very much right now wants to move on.
The balloons have been grounded by strong winds for today's parade in Philadelphia, but they did fly in New York for the traditional Thanksgiving parade there. China is accusing the U.S. of internal interference after the U.S. signaled support for pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. I'm Mike Moss.
I'm Barry Ritholtz, and this is a special Thanksgiving Day edition of Masters in Business. Today, my guest is Brian Grazer. He is a producer of television and film. Let's talk about some of the work you've liked and helped motivate or animate your career. As a kid, you were a giant James Bond fan with Sean Connery.
I was.
Who isn't? Those were just the greatest films.
No, those were fantastic. They took you into an escapism universe, a fantasy of like, wow, I can do anything. I can get the hot girl,
kill the bad guys,
and kill the bad guys, kill the bad guys, save the world, and drink a martini all at the same time.
Right. So you don't really do action films, though. You really do films with the big dramatic content.
Yeah, with real emotion film.
Right. If there's
I believe emotion is the destination for films.
If there's action, it sets up the emotional tension.
Correct.
Like Apollo 13 or Backdraft.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, but it tees up.
Or even the Da Vinci Code. We had him running and doing things, and it wasn't even in the book where he was that active. But we found a way to manufacture that.
So have you ever watched a movie and said, God, I never would have seen that idea. What a great concept. It's just so outside of my comfort zone. I wouldn't have done that. Or conversely, have you ever seen something and said, oh, there was a great opportunity here and these guys blew it?
Oh, my God. All those. I've answers yes to. Okay. I've seen concepts not correctly executed, where I think they blew it.
Right.
But I've blown it, too. So I have movies that I could cite, which I won't do now. Just the endless assault of decisions you have to make a movie. Raise the money, make a movie, turn it into some cinematic masterpiece, hopefully. But I have had the movie that a couple of movies changed my life.
Really?
The one movie that got me into show business, really, that made me think that everything's possible, was Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles.
Oh, sure.
Because he violated every single rule of ethics, morality, and language, and
the fourth wall. He breaks the fourth wall at the end,
and it worked. So I thought, wow, this was like the first shock comedy, and I just called it that to myself, like a shock comedy. And I thought, that means you can really do anything. This is so exciting. So the first 17 years of my life, that's all I wrote or produced were comedies. You know, Nutty Professor, Liar, Liar, Parenthood. I could go on. But the point is I just did that. Boomerang with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin. Anyway, but the movie that really changed my life was Steven Spielberg's E.T. Because I realized when I experienced that movie at the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood, when the movie ended, everybody was at peace. Everybody felt good. That movie elevated people's moods to a really positive place. It created a transcendental moment for human beings where they didn't have to rush to get their car and they weren't aggressive. And it empowered you. It empowered possibilities. And I thought, I want to try to make that be my goal, like to aspire. I never reached that, and honestly, I've done really good work, but that was at a very, very, very high level, and I deeply admire it, and became an aspirational, professional aspiration.
That's a touchstone in your career, seeing
it was.
Film.
Yeah, well, knowing the power of film. Like the power of film, great stories that have redemption can move people, can create good vibes in the world. And that's actually my goal with my television shows or my movies. I really want to entertain people, engage them so they have a great time, but put out good vibes.
So let's talk about a touchstone and moving people.
Okay.
I'm a giant Arrested Development fan. The voiceover narration, it's beyond a meme now. That has become a cultural touchstone, especially in the current era. You see it all the time. Someone says something on TV that turns out to be nonsense, and in parentheses you get narrator. It wasn't. The line straight from Ron Howard's voice. When you guys were first putting that together, how did the narrator come about? And did you have any idea this was going to become as giant a little cultural touchstone as it's become?
No to all those things. Basically, this was a project that was primarily cooked up with I was part of it, of course, but the collaboration of Mitch Hurwitz, who created it, and Ron Howard, who collaborated on its birth and, of course, does this voiceover narration. Which, by the way, is just pitch perfect. Yeah. Like, you recognize his voice, but if you're not paying attention, you don't know who it is right away. Correct.
And he's
smart and talented.
His deadpan is perfect.
Yeah, it is.
And I know throughout the show there have been little hints that it's him. You see a hand of the narrator with the ring that says RH on it.
Funny.
How did that come about?
I think it was probably Mitch's idea, and Ron was excited to do it, and knew he could do it because he understood the tone really well, and he has a great voice. He's a really good actor, and his style of communication in real life is not that dissimilar. He's a very unaffected person. He's completely unpretentious. He's confident but unpretentious. And
how did you guys meet and become partners?
We met because I had this discipline of curiosity conversations.
Right.
And I looked out my window while I was a television producer at Paramount, and I yelled out the window to Richie Cunningham.
Right. You didn't call him Richie Cunningham, did you?
No, I said, Ron Howard. And then he sort of scurried away. And then I called his office and said, would he consider meeting me? And then we had our first Hollywood lunch.
Right.
Which it was his first Hollywood lunch, because he never did Hollywood lunches. He was just working.
Right.
Again, he's a guy that just works and gets on it. But so he never did a Hollywood lunch. He did one with Brian Grazer. That worked. And then we pitched some ideas together. I pitched two ideas. One was Night Shift. One was Splash.
Michael Keaton, right?
Michael Keaton, right. And Henry Winkler.
That's right.
And that was the first movie we did. Even though I wanted him to do the love story Mermaid, he wanted to do an R-rated film. And so he did it. And he did it really, really well. It
Relatively small budget, and it was fairly successful, right?
It was immediately successful because the chairman of Warner Brothers at the time was named Bob Daly, who had just left CBS. He sold it immediately to CBS for the entire cost of the movie. So we're in profit.
Guaranteed.
Hour
breaking.
one.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. And then where did the script for Splash come from?
Splash came because I had I started this idea of, what if I could meet my perfect girl?
Right.
And what would that girl be like? What would those characteristics be? How would she communicate? The purity of all of those things. And I just kept defining it and redefining it and redefining. Where would I live? I thought, well, would it ever happen in L.A.? No. I would never meet the perfect girl in L.A. Okay.
Although eventually you do.
Where would it be? Yeah, which I did. But my Veronica actually was from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And she was only in L.A. for a day, but you're right. Wow, you're a good reader. Thoughtful. So in any event, so I just kept assaulting the simplicity, again, of a question that I postulated to myself. Is it possible to meet a perfect girl? Is it possible? What does a perfect girl look like? What would that be? Then I defined it. Then I wrote it. Then I superimposed this whole mythological imagery of mermaid, because mermaids have power. They have beauty and sex appeal. They have simplicity, and they're unattainable. And that makes the love story harder and gives you a third act.
Right. That's interesting. And it's the film I've always adored. It's filled with great characters. the little cameos from John Candy are just hilarious.
Well, John Candy was so funny. But we talked earlier today on the show about my grandmother who supported me. It was a Jewish grandmother, a little tiny Jewish grandmother. And she had all these isms. The isms were like, think big, be big. It's just as easy to love a rich girl as a poor girl. You have problems, wash it down with chicken soup. She had every one of these isms. I took all of those isms that Grandma Sonia said, and I gave them to the character of John Candy.
Right.
And that's how they all kind of happened like that. He says, think big, be big, my friend. And then my grandmother had kind of a decadence, weirdly, and I extrapolated further on the decadence, like my grandmother smoked. She got divorced early in life, when she was in 1940, no one got divorced. She did all these kind of things that were unconventional. So I put a lot of those things into the character that John Candy played, and then real writers came in to rewrite me because my script was terrible. It embodied the idea, but Lowell Gans and Bob Lou Mandel. It was the first draft, but it was Lowell Gans and Bob Lou Mandel that were really gifted and incredibly funny.
We have been speaking with Brian Grazer. He is the co-founder of Imagine Entertainment and has produced numerous film and television shows. If you enjoy this conversation, well, be sure and come back for the podcast extras, where we keep the tape rolling and continue discussing all things entertainment related. We love your comments, feedback, and suggestions. Write to us at mibpodcast@bloomberg.net. Go to Apple iTunes, give us a review. Be sure and check out my weekly column. That's at Bloomberg.com. Check out my daily reads at Ritholtz.com. Follow me on Twitter at Ritholtz. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, Save the Food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the Food. For tips and recipes, visit SaveTheFood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. And for those based in the turkey at home, we've got great cooking podcasts for prepping the perfect turkey.
I have water with unflavored powdered gelatin, bun pan.
At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
If there's one thing you look forward to most on Thanksgiving, besides stuffing yourself with bottomless mashed potatoes and gravy, oh yeah, it's football. And wherever you are at game time, you can catch the NFL's epic Turkey Day triple feature on TuneIn this Thursday, starting at 12:30 Eastern. Don't miss the back-to-back-to-back lineup of Bears v. Lions, Bills v. Cowboys, and Saints v. Falcons. Whether you're driving to the in-laws or carving the bird, search NFL on TuneIn to hear the holiday action. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now a global news update.
Thanksgiving parades, social media problems. I'm Mike Moss. Lots of oohs and ahs at this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City, where winds permitted the balloons to fly.
I think it's just one of our best traditions, and I think it's an opportunity for Americans to come together no matter what state you're from and to just enjoy the holiday. I mean, Thanksgiving is great because everyone can celebrate Thanksgiving. It's not, a religious holiday. Everyone can just come together and celebrate our nation's history, and it's just really special.
Not as lucky for parade goers in Philadelphia, where the strong winds grounded the balloons. A few social media hiccups today as we hear from correspondent Jim Roop.
Facebook and Instagram are experiencing intermittent outages, and before we jump to the conclusion that our eagerness to express our gratitude to others has broken the internet, this problem is a global one. Instagram took to Twitter to let users know that Facebook knows about the trouble and is working to fix it. In the meantime, it may take a few frustrating tries to let family and friends know you're grateful for them.
Fired Navy Secretary Richard Spencer called out President Trump in a scathing Washington Post op-ed. Now correspondent Barbara Starr is at the Pentagon.
It crystallizes what some of the concerns are. Spencer writing that the president's intervention in the military justice system was shocking and unprecedented. It was also a reminder that the president has very little understanding of what it means to be in the military, to fight ethically, or to be governed by a uniform set of rules and practices.
Word is just in that the president has just landed in Afghanistan on an unannounced visit to U.S. forces on this Thanksgiving Day. Trump has told the troops there that the Afghan Taliban wants to make a deal and believes that they also want a ceasefire to end America's longest war. I'm Mike Moss.
Are you an aging man who could use a boost in testosterone? Men listening to this station are invited to call now and get a free 30-day supply of Ageless Male Max, the total testosterone boosting wonder pill. No strings attached, no memberships, and no auto shipments. Just pay shipping and handling. Hurry for this exclusive radio offer. Just call 1-800-467-4510. Men take Ageless Male Max to gain strength and muscle and reduce body fat percentage more than exercise alone. Plus, you get a rapid boost in nitric oxide production, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Ageless Male is the #1 brand in male enhancement at Walmart. But for this no-strings-attached free offer, you must call now. Just call 1-800-467-4510. Your no-strings-attached free 30-day supply is yours right now. 1-800-467-4510. 1-800-467-4510.
30 years after the deaths of 96 people in a crush at a British soccer stadium, a former police superintendent has been found not guilty.
At the time, it was a shocking tragedy. Dozens of Liverpool fans attending a semi-final soccer match against Nottingham Forest died after just 7 stadium turnstiles were assigned to process nearly 10,000 fans. David Duckenfield was the watch commander then, having just taken over from a more seasoned veteran. A determination of accidental death in the 90s was quashed, and a retrial earlier this year ended with a deadlocked jury. The jury this time refuted prosecution arguments that the now 75-year-old former lawman was personally responsible for the catastrophe. I'm Jan Johnson.
Several lawsuits have been filed accusing Fairlife of abusing cows, saying the company's claims that it treats animals humanely are a fraud. Lawyers tied to 8 lawsuits are looking to file a class action suit. I'm Mike Moore.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. Asian and European stocks, along with U.S. futures, slipped today after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong protesters. The move brings another threat of retaliation from China and raises concerns about the prospects for an interim trade deal. Well, the White House pushed yesterday to wrap final negotiations with Democrats on the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Yesterday's meeting broke up without a USMCA deal announcement, but Mexico and Canada say there was progress. OPEC and its allies hold ministerial talks in Vienna next week. Bloomberg's Nathan Hager reports any hopes they'll agree to deeper production cuts have all but evaporated.
A Bloomberg survey of 35 global oil analysts and traders finds just one of them thinks oil ministers will agree to a further reduction. The 24-nation bloc already cut output by 1.2 million barrels a day this year to prevent a supply glut. Most analysts think they'll extend that agreement to the middle of next year. That's a shift from earlier this month when OPEC Plus promised to do whatever it takes to balance markets. That had nearly a quarter of analysts thinking that meant further cutbacks. In Washington, Nathan Hager, Bloomberg Radio.
Apollo's boosted its cash offer for Tech Data from $130 to $145 a share. Tech Data received a competing bid during its Go Shop period. The new deal gives Tech Data an enterprise value of $6 billion. It's expected to close in the first half of 2020. Frozen 2 is expected to keep its number one ranking at the box office with an estimated $85 million over the holiday weekend. That's according to Box Office Pro. Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 1/3% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 0.25%. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2%. And the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
This is Masters in Business with Barry Ritholtz on Bloomberg Radio.
This is a special Thanksgiving Day edition of Masters in Business. Today, my special guest is Kara Swisher. She is the co-founder of Recode, sold recently to Vox. Before that, she was the long-standing technology journalist, along with Walt Mossberg over at the Wall Street Journal. She is the author of a number of books, including How Steve Case Beat Bill Gates and its sequel, There Must Be a Pony in Here Somewhere. She won the Gerald Loeb Award for Excellence in Business Journalism and is the co-host of one of my favorite podcasts, Pivot, with Scott Galloway. Kara Swisher,
yes.
Welcome to Bloomberg.
I'm very impressive with myself.
Well, you have a nice list of accomplishments.
Yes.
I was discussing your work with somebody, and they said, she's really a journalist, right? And I'm like, well, she's also an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
She's been very forward in terms of the conference business, in terms
Absolutely.
of the media business, which she turned into a platform. I don't know if it was ever publicly released what Recode was sold. Was that always private?
Yeah, it was a startup. Yeah, we sold it to Vox 4 or 5 years ago. It was
right,
4 or 5 years ago.
2015.
We had been funded by NBC and Terry Semmel, who's taken ill now, but we got $12 million from them, and at the time that was a lot, but pretty soon it wasn't a lot. Right. A lot of content companies. It was sort of this big boom in investing in content, and many of my competitors got 4 or 5 times what I got 6 months later
as a VC investment.
Yeah, we didn't have a VC. It was NBC and Terry. He's a media investor, and so I looked around. I said, I can't compete with this much money. It's a bubble, right. And so I sold to Vox. I talked to a number of companies. I sold really quickly after founding Recode.
Less than 5 years.
Well, no, I was at All Things D for a dozen or more years, which was within the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
And I was in the Journal for about more than a dozen years. But we had a Skunk Works inside the Journal, so it was owned by the Journal, but we ran it without their input, really.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was great.
Little freedom.
Yeah, and they were good and bad in different ways, but and then we left because we had some problems with them, and then had it funded, and we were going to do it independently, but then I was like, no way, this is going to, things change.
It's a lot of money.
You have to be really dynamic when you're an entrepreneur and realize, if your competitors all have 3 times the amount of funding you do, you have a problem. You can't be that good.
Right.
And so, especially in content, because it's about hiring talent. And so we sold really quickly within a year to Vox Media.
It was that fast.
It was that fast.
It was that quick.
Yeah, I was like, I'm really good that way. I know when to move.
So that wasn't like a hundreds of millions of dollars.
No,
exit.
That was a good sum.
It was a good sum.
Yeah, it was okay.
And have you ever disclosed it publicly?
No, I haven't. I'm not going to here.
Right.
But
$50 million, did you say?
I'm not going to go into it, but it doesn't worth anything. I own stock in Vox Media, whatever Vox Media sells.
So I won't harangue you about this, but I'm assuming this was an all stock transaction.
Yes, it was. We decided that.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have gotten cash, but I felt like, why not? Like, if I'm an entrepreneur, I should own the company, and I have quite a bit of stock in Vox Media. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously now content content is now the blooms off the rose there, and Vox is quite healthy, but the others bloom. BuzzFeed and Mike, of course, closed. Some of these others closed, and all of media is under stress, and so especially if we go into a recession and stuff. So it's just whatever the stock's worth. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Quite interesting.
But I'm very well paid, Barry. Don't worry about it. I do okay.
You do okay. So let's talk a little bit about the early parts of your career. You come out of now. I know you have a master's from Columbia. Was that the journalism school or
journalism school? Yeah, I went to Georgetown School of Foreign Service, which was in Washington D.C. It was actually my backup school. Now it's a very top ranking school, but at the time,
can I tell you, you and I are not all that far apart in age. Yeah. The people who came into, because of the demographics, into college 20, 30, 40 years ago were dealing with relatively easy admissions, and then the boom followed.
It was.
The echo boom made it much more challenging to get in.
Yeah, I didn't get in everywhere. I didn't get into Stanford. I wanted to go to Stanford, but my brother went to Stanford. But I got into Georgetown, and I was in the School of Foreign Service, and I wanted to be, I've said this many times, a spy. I wanted to work for the CIA, and I wanted to do analysis. Very similar to what I do now, reporting and analysis.
Right. Just with no one shooting it.
Yes, exactly. Well, you never know. And I was very interested in the military, too, in military intelligence, and I was gay at the time. That was impossible.
To get into the military.
You couldn't. It was don't ask, don't tell under the Clinton administration. And so I always tell. So it was really hard to do that. And then in the CIA.
We haven't asked yet.
It's
what
ridiculous to not tell.
Right.
It's such it's an insane thing.
Can I tell you, it's so
today
shocking.
We're like, what?
Right. It's so shocking to look back just 20 years and say, what the hell were we thinking? Don't ask.
What are we still thinking? There's all these attacks on transgender people now.
Well, we're in an alternative timeline now. I'll discuss that later.
We're not.
You don't think so?
This is just what America's like. I'm sorry. Put a mirror to our faces. There's a great series going on. It's the 1619 series in the New York Times, and you need
powerful.
to read that. It's powerful.
No, it's
and
really.
Let me just say, this is what we are.
And
it's part of us. It's not every part of us, but it's not this dream of being this incredibly meritocracy with everybody getting a chance. It's just not so. It's not so.
Coming up, we continue our conversation with Kara Swisher, co-founder of Recode, discussing the early days covering technology.
You're listening to Masters in Business with Barry Ritholtz on Bloomberg Radio.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Restaurants will have to pay their workers more in 2020 as minimum wages go up in 23 states and Washington, D.C. Among the chains expected to be hit the hardest, Shake Shack, Chipotle, Cheese Factory, and BJ's Restaurants.
Out of those four, we think Chipotle is in the best shape.
to kind of offset that wage pressure, because we expect their same-store sales to continue to rise at a pretty healthy rate.
Michael Halen, Bloomberg intelligence analyst, says those chains with more locations in California or New York are already paying workers more than their counterparts in other states. But some chains in the Midwest will also see a jump in their labor costs.
Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Ohio are all states that are still raising the minimum wages.
Halen says the most common response to minimum wage hikes has been to raise menu prices. Some 73% of restaurants have been taking that route. Elisa Parenti, Bloomberg Radio.
Have you wanted to speak in...
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
At Lidl, we're big on getting in the Christmas spirit with our award-winning 8-year-old Queen Margot blended Scotch whisky for just $12.99 and our award-winning range of Hortus Artisan gins and gin liqueurs from only $9.99. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Dead of night. On a break with the lads. Excavators turned off. Everything's silent again. Amber still flashing on dark buildings. Hot tarmac steaming. Having a laugh whilst everyone else sleeps. Deadline looming. Sun won't be long. Foreman pacing. Hot Mackie D's. Back to work.
Over 700 McDonald's open 24 hours. We are awake.
I'm Barry Ritholtz. This is a special Thanksgiving Day edition of Masters in Business. Today, my special guest is Kara Swisher. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing with your career now and how you began. What was it like in the early 90s covering technology? I don't think people understood.
There was nobody covering it.
Right?
It was me. It was me and some other guy.
I don't think people really understood how important technology was going to be to society, the economy, everything.
It had been covered, chips and Microsoft essentially, and software, chips and software. We've been either covered as a product issue, like we made Windows 10. Here's the news story, which is not a news story when they release something, but it used to be.
I remember.
And so
the Windows 95, the hoopla on that was insane.
Yeah, I was at that event. So I think what was interesting, what I thought about it is this was an entirely new industry being created, the internet industry, and you had to treat it like the beginnings of electricity or the beginning of TV or the beginning of radio, and so that's how I looked at it. And so one of the things I told when I first started covering at the Washington Post and then later at the Wall Street Journal, what I told my editors is I'm not going to tell you how the watch works. I'm going to tell you what time it is. And that's the most important story. Like, who are these people? And I spent a lot of time understanding the culture that was growing because it was all new. Like I was there. I wrote one of the first stories when the internet was commercialized when I was at the Washington Post. I think I wrote nobody was paying attention to, what Al Gore was doing in the
late 80s, we're talking.
Yes, I was covering it then. And so there was a moment where I was like, this is going to be the most important change in media and communications in history, like so far. And there's been a lot.
You think this internet thing is going to catch on?
Yeah, I did. I kept saying, two things I spent a lot of time doing is talking about, I tell a story that it was a moment where I downloaded a Calvin and Hobbes book onto a server, and I messed up the server. It was so big, and the pictures. And the person who was running the technology was like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I downloaded a book. I put it in." Like, what? Like, can you do that? And they're like, he's like, "So what?" I'm like, "So what? Don't you get it, you idiot? Like, everything's gonna be digitized." And I kept saying, everything's gonna be digitized. Everything. And I say this over and over again. Everything that can be digitized will be digitized. Jobs, everything. It eats everything. Not just Mark Andreessen's software is eating the world.
Right.
Digital is eating the world. And it has to.
You sound a bit like Andreessen, who describes
software. He says software.
But he describes entrepreneurs that he knows he's onto something when they're trying to explain their business to a VC, and they get frustrated and angry. Like, how do you not see this? It's so obvious. Right. You basically just said that.
Well, it was. I would run around saying this, and everyone was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "There's not going to be newspapers. There's not going to be like I would do that, like the newspaper people." And then the second part was mobile. And when I got to the Journal, I just wrote a column the other day in the Times about no one's going to own a car, which caused quite a lot of consternation. Especially
why would that cause consternation?
Because like people in the Midwest or with pickup trucks are like, "I want my pickup truck." I said, "Have your pickup truck, but it's going to be like owning a horse.
It'll be a robot, right?"
It'll be like, you don't understand, like even you will not have a car. Like cities, absolutely not. You very soon after it'll be all automated and everything else, or they'll be floating or whatever. And so I wrote a piece when I got to the Journal in 1997 called "Cutting the Cord." And
I recall that piece.
Yeah, and I had a picture of me with cords, and I had a big,
the scissors. Right.
And I said, you will not have a landline phone. You will carry around this device. It will get smaller, because they were big at the time.
Right.
It'll get smaller and smaller. There will be your entire computer. It will be on the go. It will be mobile. This will be the center of your news. And it was, when I go back and read it, I'm like, wow, that was pretty smart.
Pretty
good. But I kept insisting it, and it made so much sense. Like, it obviously, like when I think about cars or when I think about certain jobs being eliminated. Right. Like, I was talking to a lawyer the other day. I'm like, your job's going to go. Like, it's so pattern match. AI will take over everything you do except for the creativity part.
Right.
No, I said everything you do is digitizable.
Anything that's by road, anything that's mechanical.
Not just mechanical. There's so much more that really you could apply AI principles to, or robotic. Any of the coming things, robotics, automation, self-driving, AI, just anything that can apply to it does. So I think about, though, what can change, what's not going to be here.
Whenever I get pushback when we discuss future technology, my favorite question to ask people is, well, do you think people will still be driving their own cars in 100 years?
No.
No, of course not. Yeah. Okay, so next year, yeah, I'll still be So really the debate is when does that transition take place?
Yeah.
And people can picture 100 years,
place.
But they can't picture 12 years from now. That's too difficult.
Yeah, it's taking place. It's
already.
Place. And,
but the business model
of going to be.
The business model of not owning a car and just using Uber or some other source, have something come by, that's hard for a lot of people to conceptualize, even though it appears to be inevitable.
They're already doing it. They've already started doing it. People do things without realizing. There's I forget which, I think it's, I can't remember the poet.
Reuters
Paths are made by walking. That's what's happening here. Paths are made by walking. And so I just did, I'm going to write a recap of what's happened since I sold my car. And I have no vehicle. And the other, I called someone, I'm like, oh, we have to go get this. I'm like, oh, I don't have a car. How am I going to do that? It doesn't mean you're not going to drive a car. It doesn't mean you're not going to rent a car. I just rented a car, and I'm going to try to put it in terms of money, what I spent for that, what I used to buy a car with. And when I called the insurance company, I've had a car, an insurance policy for years, for forever. And they're like, wait, what's the car you're replacing with? I go, no car. And they're like, what? And I said, I never am going to own a car again. It was the most fascinating discussion. I said, you better watch out for your business because I'm not going to have insurance. But then I sat down to breakfast with someone who's a lawyer and said, when you get on a scooter, if you don't have car insurance, who covers if you hit someone when you're on a scooter? Like one of those, I was like, oh my God, I do need insurance. So
well, you need umbrella insurance, something different.
Well, yeah, but it gets taken away when you don't have a car. It was fascinating. And I'm like, oh my God, a whole new business. But I was thinking all car insurance will go away. What will happen to those people? But then there's a whole new business of people who are on the move who have to be covered. Anyway, it was just interesting.
Your Amex probably covers you if you rent the scooter with it.
I don't know, but it's like that's the whole thing. But there's whole new businesses to be created. Immediately, I was like, wow, wouldn't it be interesting to go into the insurance business without owning a car, but having a mobile insurance, a moving insurance, like you physically moving through the world, however you decide to do it. If you get into a vertical lift and takeoff vehicle, do you know about those?
Sure.
Those are great. They're going to be cool. I was mentioning
it. I've been waiting for them for 50
years. They're coming. They'll be in San Francisco first, so you come and ride them in San Francisco.
I've been tracking that. There are a number of companies that are relatively close, including one that's an all battery electric version.
I'm going to stick with gas.
But I'm waiting for my Blade Runner vehicle where the projection of the highway is just a three-dimensional hologram that you fly through. But hey, that was supposed to be here.
It wasn't supposed
2024
to be.
is the date on
those
that.
Those are Hollywood people telling you that.
All right, so when are we going to have personalized VTOL cars and taxis.
You will be dead, Barry. You will never experience. You may try one, but you're not going to be in.
No, so I agree with you. I think it's less than 100 years,
yes,
but more than a decade.
Between now and 50 years.
Coming up, we continue our conversation with Kara Swisher, discussing the rise of Silicon Valley and the return of Tom Cruise in Top Gun 2.
You're listening to Masters in Business with Barry Ritholtz on Bloomberg Radio.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA/SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
The lifeblood of tech startups isn't just money. It's executive and technical skills. The kind of skills that companies need to build real products. And the skills that venture capitalist Chris Sugden of Edison Partners sees in the graduates that are coming out of New Jersey Institute of Technology.
The amazing thing about NJIT is their graduates, they have multiple offers on average, not just one. They're coming out with real skill sets that are immediately hireable and available to them. I think we see an understanding by the faculty and administration at NJIT that we got to train and educate the whole student, not just their, one side of their brain. And I do think that's sort of part of the DNA today. There's practical and there's sort of academia, and merging those two together and understanding that if we're going to have our young people go get great jobs and have great successful careers, they've got to have both sides of their brain activated. And I think we see that with NJIT.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
You can't be the...
Oh, what a brilliant photo.
Look at Danny in the background laughing.
And Matt smiling.
Wait, is he holding hands with Sarah?
You're kidding!
Don't miss a thing. Like being able to claim a pair of Silver Galaxy Buds when you purchase the Samsung Galaxy A90 5G before the 2nd of December. The Samsung A90 5G has 4 cameras, so you can capture every detail, because the detail matters. Get the latest Samsung Galaxy A90 5G now at your local 3-shop or 3.co.uk. Offer available on purchase made by 2nd of December 2019 and claimed online within 30 days. T's and C's apply.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
25% off. This week at Tesco, we're taking that exact percentage off wine and fizz when you buy 6 bottles or more. So, technically, every 4th glass is on us. Tesco, delivering Christmas for 100 years. 18 plus excludes Express and Scotland Max 36. Exclusions apply. Ends 2nd of December.
Got a big journey ahead for Thanksgiving with the family? Well, don't forget to take TuneIn along for the ride. With live 24-hour news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Talk, you can catch up on the big stories and stay informed while you're on the road.
Other companies whose shares have hit all-time highs today include Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. Its shares started
Just try not to bring up politics at dinner. Trust us. Happy Thanksgiving from TuneIn.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown
Touchdown! Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen now to ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
News. President Trump makes a surprise visit to U.S. forces in Afghanistan.
We flew 8,331 miles to be here tonight for one simple reason, to tell you in person that this Thanksgiving is a special Thanksgiving. We're doing so well. Our country is the strongest economically it's ever been. We have never done so well. We have the greatest economy anywhere in the world. So it's nice to know that you're fighting for something that is doing well as opposed to something that was not doing well just a number of years ago.
European investors managing assets worth more than $1 trillion are pressing auditors to take urgent action on climate risks, warning failure to do so could cause more damage than the financial crisis. China is furious at the U.S. for supporting pro-democracy demonstrators in Hong Kong. I'm Mike Moss.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. China has repeated its intention to retaliate after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong's protesters. Bloomberg's China correspondent Tom McKenzie says it could disrupt trade talks.
Beijing summoned America's ambassador for the second time this week, while foreign ministry officials accused the U.S. of quote-unquote meddling in China's affairs. They also warned that cooperation between the two countries could be jeopardized. Previous U.S. actions, including the blacklisting of Chinese companies and arms sales to Taiwan, have elicited forceful rhetoric from Beijing, but little in the way of concrete actions. Analysts at Citigroup expect more of the same now, with China focused on trying to secure a partial trade deal with Washington.
Amazon says it'll hire 200,000 seasonal workers in the U.S. to work in warehouses and make deliveries. That is double the number of temporary workers it hired last year. Congress has given itself another 3 weeks to resolve budget issues and finance the government until next September and avoid shutting it down again. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports from Washington.
Budget negotiators agreed on spending limits for the next year, but as Douglas Holtz-Eakin, the economist who heads the American Action Forum, noted in a Bloomberg interview, the sticking point once again is President Trump's demand to finance a wall on the Mexican border.
They couldn't get there because of the wall. They've got problems with the National Defense Authorization Act. That always has been bipartisan. It's stopped dead because of the wall. Until they figure out how to handle the wall and the ability of the president to move money to build the wall, even when Congress hasn't appropriated it, they're not going to have a deal.
The issue is also making the Homeland Security spending bill one of the hardest to pass.
Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 1/3% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 1/4. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2, and the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
I'm Barry Ritholtz. This is a special Thanksgiving Day edition of Masters in Business. Today, my special guest is Kara Swisher. She is in desperate need of a real New York bagel and has been unable to find one.
I have not
much
been unable.
to her chagrin. Well, apparently
Look,
you have.
I was hungry, Barry, and I was like,
that thing is a blasphemy.
I was coming from Brooklyn. I never have lived in
Brooklyn. There are no bagels in Brooklyn. I don't know what anybody could possibly.
Well, fell in love with someone in Brooklyn. What can I say?
Google.
Yeah.
Best bagels in Brooklyn. You'll find a list anywhere along.
I know where they are. They're on 2nd Avenue and 50-some Street. I know where the bagels are.
So,
I grew up here.
So you mentioned you fell in love with someone in Brooklyn, and I just mentioned Google. I got to ask you a random question.
Sure, please.
Your disclosures, you don't mince any words whatsoever.
15 years ago we did those.
It's like, hey, here's who my spouse is, here's who she works for, here's this, I don't get paid, her money is hers, mine is, there's no conflict.
Yeah.
That's like a really blunt, straightforward.
That was very innovative at the time.
It was.
Here's
It really
why, because
was.
we trusted readers, and we wanted, my ex was a very prominent executive at Google, and then later became CTO of America. I had to.
Meaning she was working for the Obama White House as their technology director.
She's the chief technology officer in the United States. But before that, she was a pretty prominent executive, Megan Smith, at Google. She ran Google.org. She was in charge. She bought things. She bought Google Earth for them. I mean, she did a lot of stuff over there.
Right.
And so I actually urged her to go there when it was very small.
Hey, these guys are onto something.
Yes, I was like, these guys are special. Like, she was looking around. She was running another company. And
good advice.
So, yeah, it was good advice. You're welcome, Megan. So she's a very lovely house in Washington, D.C. due to that. So
she should have several lovely houses.
I don't want to go into it. So anyway, she's doing just fine. So I wanted to disclose, and you can't do that in a newspaper, and I thought, why not be clear to everybody? So we trust the reader. We don't have to say, one of the things journalists try to do is like, I'm completely even-handed. It's like, no, you're not. You have things that you don't want people to grab onto them. I foresaw sort of this Twitter day where everybody could do gotcha to you. So before anybody could get you, just explain, and then we trust the readers to be smart. And so that's what Walt and I did. We full disclosure on a lot of stuff, like as much as we could, and as much that was relevant, I think was it. And people love it. They like it. Again, it's a respect for readers that we think about. We don't think they're stupid.
That's important to actually let people think. You know what you're doing. You have nothing to hide.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to Hunter Thompson, basically saying, "Hey, I'm not unbiased. Here are my biases. I'm Hunter S. Thompson, and you'll figure it out." Let's talk a little bit about Silicon Valley.
Yes,
You've lived in San Francisco for
25 years,
right? We could talk about
20 years.
We could talk about this, how much the city has changed, but let's go a little south, down to the valley. How has Silicon Valley changed over the past 20 plus years? It's just money. Just massive amounts of capital.
Massive amounts of capital and success has sort of, and the influence and power. And I think one of the things that's interesting is sort of like, I would be akin to watching Hollywood go from orange groves to the power, to Louis B. Mayer and stuff like that. And I think it was really, most of the people I had covered and are now the captains of industry, the richest people in the world, by the way. On every list, they're the richest people. They weren't that. They were just startups. And so I think some of them have stayed true to the people they are. Others have been warped by money and not understanding their power and not understanding the consequences of what they've built. Others have been, plunged into these ridiculous wealth bubbles where they go from the airplane to the car to their home, and they don't understand what they've done. Like, or they don't spend. They surround themselves by people whose interest is in pleasing them. It's often when then I run into them. Like Mark Andreessen and I have known each other since he was very young and I was very young, and. I think very few people. He's like the genius, Mark with his giant brain, with his big head, whatever. And
he does have a giant.
He has a giant head.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, he does have an egg head.
But by the way, when I did my interview with him, I got all these emails complaining that they could not listen to it on 2X because he speaks too quickly.
He talks fast like me.
So quickly.
But he's like very few people, he'll say something and I'm like, that's stupid. And he's like, what? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
He's not used to hearing that.
But he is. He's actually one of the people who will go back and forth. But, even like, just a lot of them, he's actually quite good. He always thought a lot to himself. Like, and I don't mind that.
Well, you have to in order to go out and risk.
No, he really did compared to others. He was confident from the get-go. He shouldn't have been.
Well, it turned out, hindsight bias, he should have. He's achieved a modicum of success.
Like, whatever. I don't care.
Oh, well, everybody
I don't care.
does.
Right, exactly. But
he wasn't. What my pushback to you is, he wasn't an arrogant jerk about it. And Silicon Valley. Well, do tell, because I see a different side of him.
He was, yes.
Was he an arrogant jerk, or was he just young?
Arrogant. No. He's the same person. He's the same person, which I like. I appreciate someone like that. I appreciate. Or Mark Benioff. I love talking to Mark Benioff.
Right.
Or
smart, insightful. Coming up, we continue our conversation with Recode's Kara Swisher, discussing the state of technology today. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio.
You're listening to Masters in Business with Barry Ritholtz on Bloomberg Radio.
business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Why is delivering the best client experience a top priority at BNY Mellon's Pershing? Michelle Feinstein, Director of Client Engagement, explains.
Today's investors want a financial relationship that's on demand, customized, and leverages the latest digital technology. At BNY Mellon's Pershing, helping advisory firms and broker-dealers create great experiences for their clients is our priority. Through our integrated wealth experience, we give you a high-touch service, flexible technology choices, and expert insights, so you can deliver a highly personalized experience to your clients at every step, from onboarding to wealth planning, to performance analysis and more. And because we're part of BNY Mellon, you'll benefit from more than 230 years of strength and stability. At Pershing, we're personally invested in your success.
Visit Pershing.com to learn more about Pershing's integrated wealth experience. Pershing LLC and Pershing Advisor Solutions LLC are both members of FINRA and SIPC.
This is On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Dell's biggest Black Friday ever is on. Save up to £700 on Windows 10 laptops and desktops. Plus up to 50% off across our award-winning monitors, all with free delivery. Call 0800 085 4878 to talk to a Dell advisor today. That's 0800 085 4878. Or visit dell.co.uk/SB deals for details on the best offers in Dell's biggest Black Friday ever. Limited time online offer. Hurry while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
The S in Audi S-Line stands for many things like sporty, stylish, streamlined, and now seductively priced. Like the new Audi A4 S-Line, which you can now have from £359 per month, £2,154 initial rental. Test drive one at your local Audi centre, but you'll have to be swift. The offer ends soon. Search Audi S-Line. Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik. With 48-month contract hire, 10,000 miles per annum, 18s and over, subject to status, damage charges may apply, no ownership. Ordered by 31st of December 2019 from participating centres. Audi Financial Services, visit audi.co.uk.
At Asda this Christmas, treat them to a gift or two, or 3, with 3 for 2 on a wide range of beauty and toiletry gift sets, from Dove, Lynx, Bayliss and Harding and many more. Asda, let's make Christmas extra special. Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Individual prices £1 to £20, cheapest item free.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Got a big journey ahead for Thanksgiving with the family? Well, don't forget to take TuneIn along for the ride. With live 24-hour news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News Talk, you can catch up on the big stories and stay informed while you're on the road.
Other companies whose shares have hit all-time highs today include Jack Daniels maker Brown-Forman. Its shares started
Just try not to bring up politics at dinner. Trust us. Happy Thanksgiving from TuneIn.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Along the goal line, Martin scores and tucks it home.
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, faced up.
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
President Trump makes a surprise visit to U.S. forces in Afghanistan.
We flew 8,331 miles to be here tonight for one simple reason, to tell you in person that this Thanksgiving is a special Thanksgiving. We're doing so well. Our country is the strongest economically it's ever been. We have never done so well. We have the greatest economy anywhere in the world. So it's nice to know that you're fighting for something that is doing well as opposed to something that was not doing well just a number of years ago.
European investors managing assets worth more than $1 trillion are pressing auditors to take urgent action on climate risks, warning failure to do so could cause more damage than the financial crisis. China is furious at the U.S. for supporting pro-democracy demonstrators in Hong Kong. I'm Mike Moss.
I'm Barry Ritholtz. This is a special Thanksgiving Day edition of Masters in Business. Today, my special guest is Kara Swisher, where we are discussing all things digital and technology. Let's do a quick speed round about some of your favorite people.
Yeah.
And since I mentioned Blade Runner, tell me the first things that enter your mind when I mention these people's name.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk.
Visionary.
Visionary.
Unusual.
The whole crazy Joe Rogan thing was blown a little out of...
No, he shouldn't have done that. He's a CEO of a public company.
A little more circumspect would have
Possibly.
been better. Jack Dorsey.
Oh. Also thoughtful.
Okay.
But opaque. And disengaged in a way I find troubling.
Disengaged, meaning not responsive to the current...
The impact of his work, what he's doing, what Twitter is doing right now to the national discourse is damaging, and he has to think more. He talks about healthy conversations, and I really wish he would stop talking and do something about it.
Okay. Speaking of damaging the national discourse, Mark Zuckerberg.
Earnest.
Really?
Lovely, as you know, the least arrogant considering who he is. Like, really quite... thoughtful person, absolutely incapable of dealing with the task he has ahead of him.
Incapable. That's pretty impressive.
Could use a lot of help.
What about the Google guys?
Disengaged.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Disengaged. Is that a function of?
They just are not running the company.
So who is?
Sundar Pichai.
All right.
And whoever's there.
What about the entire split between Google and Alphabet or Google projects? It's still the same kind.
It's the same.
It's search and everything else is an indulgence.
They're a jumble of blocks. That's what they've always been like. Years ago, there was a Fortune magazine cover, "Chaos at Google." It's the same thing. That's how they operate. It's a chaotically organized company, and there's a lot of obviously practices. It's a big, giant company, makes a ton of money. It's very successful in the way it does. But so from the DNA of any company is the DNA of its beginnings,
and that doesn't change.
They're chaotic, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Even at Microsoft, has that DNA changed?
Yes, I have a huge respect for Satya Nadella.
Amazing, right?
I think he's a thoughtful, measured. Not as exciting, screamy and stuff like that, but just he's done a great job in defining your products.
Right.
He knows who he is. He knows what Microsoft is.
Interesting. Reed Hastings.
Lovely, smart. Oh, I just enjoy talking to him.
Really?
Really. Just a great thinker. He's just, we don't always agree on things, but boy, what a smart man.
Mark Benioff.
I like, he pulled himself off the board of Facebook. That was interesting.
Who, Reed Hastings?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Probably was tired of arguing with him, I'm guessing.
Right, and he had enough.
I don't need this.
Huh. Benioff, you mentioned earlier?
Hysterical fun.
Hysterical.
Great guy for a drink. You want to go out for a drink with that guy? Always interesting conversation. Can be blowhardy, but I like it. I like the whole jam. I like his whole...
Started a podcast himself.
I like his whole commitment to the city. I think it's genuine.
Right.
I like that he's loud about it. Everyone's like, oh, he's just loud about it. I'm like, yeah, but he does things. Like, I don't care. Let him brag. Let him, I don't care. I like him. He's just a really fascinating character. I really enjoy talking to him. I'm never not interested in talking to him.
Andreessen.
Pain in the
Really?
But I'm
so surprised you said that.
In a good
Yeah.
way. In a bad way, too. Some of his new tweets. He's been tweeting some crazy stuff lately. But
he took a long tweet vacation for a couple of years.
He's like,
marker.
Whatever. I argue with him a lot, but I enjoy it. I hope he's not listening.
Oh, he's listening.
Okay, well, Mark.
Undor, Bill Gurley,
John's a very thoughtful person. He's not as,
put out a book recently.
He's put out a book. We did a podcast. He's always been, I think he's John. He's seems ethical. But
what other VCs did I not get to that
Chamath Palihapitiya. Crazy.
Do not
I love him. He's great. He's great.
Which firm?
Chamath. He's just a character in Silicon Valley. I think there's lots of VCs you don't know about, like Michael Deering. There's all sorts of really interesting, Aileen Lee, Mary Meeker. There's all sorts of really interesting.
Oh, well, you all know who Mary Meeker is.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. I met her when she was an analyst at
Morgan Stanley. Yeah.
I used to stay up nights talking about the internet with her in like the 90s, early 90s.
She got it.
In fact, she was a little too enthusiastic, but she was right. Directionally, she was correct.
I've argued that the difference between her and people who got into trouble, like Henry Blodgett, is she was a true believer who drank the Kool-Aid.
She did.
And being wrong is not prosecutable.
Also,
she was early.
She was early, but she was right. She was right in the long term. She was probably wrong several times in the short term. Henry's real cynical.
I like Henry. I think he got a bad rap.
He's also a beautiful writer.
Who have I missed? Steve Jobs.
Oh, fascinating. I really enjoyed interviewing him. What an interesting and complex person. I always say, and I've gotten to know his wife quite a bit, his widow, Lorraine, who's really, really interesting to talk to.
She's very active in philanthropy now.
Not just philanthropy, all kinds of interesting. I find her to be very interesting in her investment stuff. She's very thoughtful. Another very thoughtful person. Has a lot of points of view, which I like. I like someone who has a point of view. Steve Jobs was, he was just. What a complicated and interesting person. I know everyone sort of tries to cartoonize people. He was mean to people. I'm like, well, yeah, but lots of people are mean.
But he got stuff done, so we'll overlook that.
No, I don't think he was, I don't know if I can say it on the air. I have a prick productivity ratio. His ratio of productivity was so high.
Right.
And, all those speeches around death were what an interesting person who challenged himself from a philosophical point of view. He had a lot of, people always say he was heartless. This is what I say all the time. He had too much heart. It was there were so many things going on with him. We did Walt and I did eight interviews or more with him. Nobody's had the body of interviews that we did with him. And that was every single one of them were fascinating conversations. And of course, he's going to be seen as one of the most important. And we did one with Gates and Jobs together.
I recall that. That was really a very interesting conversation.
That's going to go down in history. I'll be forgotten, but not that interview.
Larry Ellison.
Oh, hysterical.
Hysterical?
He's hysterical.
Really?
I just love talking to him. I mean, he's he's sort of the old days of that's vaguely sexist, sometimes very sexist, Silicon Valley, like the old sell the software, everybody, like that kind of stuff. But I got to tell you, he's a real, he's raised two really interesting children too.
And what are the kids doing?
The kids are movie makers. They make Star Trek, and his daughter makes some amazing movies.
Oh,
his
really?
daughter is a really interesting filmmaker, and his son makes more like Terminator and Star Trek, the recent Star Treks, which are very good movies.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Trek ones particularly. And so I don't know. He's one of the few titans left, kind of thing.
Scott McNeely was someone I haven't heard from him recently.
I just did a podcast with him.
Yeah.
Not a podcast. I did a column in the New York Times around privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Privacy, get used to it, that kind of thing. He's got...
Which is the inverse of what people used to say.
No, he was the first one to really identify that you have no privacy, get used to it.
Right.
That was a really prescient thing he said. I'm not sure I agree with him on a lot of political stuff. He's quite... He has a problem with Hillary Clinton that he needs to let go of.
Still, even to this day?
I was talking to him. I'm like, she's a private citizen, is never going to be president. You really can move along. Like, I feel like you've handled Hillary Clinton. So, like, some people who don't like her really can, whatever. It's just funny. I was sort of like, can we stop talking about Hillary Clinton and start discussing the current state of affairs?
What about CEOs I haven't mentioned? What companies
Well, there's some interesting ones, like Brian Chesky from Airbnb. I think he's very thoughtful and interesting. I'll be interested.
Such an interesting company.
When that goes public, I think he thinks very carefully about stuff, and he understands. What I like about him is he understands the impact. He may not always do the right thing, and they've had a lot of mess-ups and everything else. They had some early mess-ups that I think taught them a lot. But I think he's extraordinarily thoughtful about his impact, and I don't think it's just yammering. I think he actually knows that his company has negative and positive impacts. Mm-hmm. And so he's able to discuss the negative impacts without being defensive, and it's a pleasure to talk to him. Tim Cook, I love talking to him.
I didn't get to Tim Cook.
I think Tim Cook's he's an adult. I've done some very good interviews with him.
People assumed that when Jobs left, that would be it for Apple, but here we are, what is it, 6 years later?
More.
7 years.
They still got the issue of they got to have, what's the next hit? They're like the Rolling Stones. Like, when's your next hit? Like, at some point, they can't keep making, like, it's just like, they have such a record. You're almost like, good job.
Tough, right?
I feel like that. I'm kind of old, but I keep making hits. So so they can keep making it. It's they've done so much amazing stuff that
this year there's a lot of new
there's stuff around. That show looks pretty good. We'll see.
There's the problem with that show, and you brought this up with competing with content between Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and everybody else. It's really hard to.
You never know. Look, you just don't know.
I thought they should have bought Netflix 5 years ago.
They should have.
That
is 100%. I agree.
I wrote that and people gave me grief about it. I think it was $50 billion and people gave me grief if it was like 200 now.
110%.
Yeah,
that would be
that was
perfect.
a missed opportunity.
They could still do it. They could have so much money.
Well, it's a rounding error to them, but
I like Tim Cook. I really enjoy. I think he's been one of the adults in the room. And has been very thoughtful. A lot of people think he's taking advantage of sort of being the school marm, but I don't care. I like it.
We have been speaking with Kara Swisher. She is the co-founder of Recode and the author of numerous books on technology. If you enjoy this conversation, be sure and check out our podcast extras, where we keep the tape rolling and continue discussing all things tech-related. You can find that at iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, Overcast, Stitcher, wherever your finer podcasts are sold. We love your comments, feedback, and suggestions. Write to us at mibpodcast@bloomberg.net. Check out my weekly column at bloomberg.com. Follow me on Twitter at Ritholtz. Sign up for my daily reads at ritholtz.com. I'm Barry Ritholtz. You're listening to Masters in Business on Bloomberg Radio.
It's hard to enjoy your daily yoga routine when your mind is on your next VAT return and how to avoid the usual mistakes. But with QuickBooks, the new VAT Smart Scan technology does the work for you. As the deadline approaches, it checks for duplicates, looks for anomalies, and reviews VAT codes. So your biggest struggle is touching your forehead with your ankle.
Search for QuickBooks, perfect for making tax digital. QuickBooks, backing you.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
If there's one thing you look forward to most on Thanksgiving, besides stuffing yourself with bottomless mashed potatoes and gravy, oh yeah, it's football. And wherever you are at game time, you can catch the NFL's epic Turkey Day triple feature on TuneIn this Thursday, starting at 12:30 Eastern. Don't miss the back-to-back-to-back lineup of Bears v. Lions, Bills v. Cowboys, and Saints v. Falcons. Whether you're driving to the in-laws or carving the bird, search NFL on TuneIn to hear the holiday action. Happy Thanksgiving.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. Featuring nonstop music, binge-worthy podcasts, 24-hour news, and live NFL, NHL, and NBA games. At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
Don't want to miss a second of your NFL team's next matchup? Let TuneIn remind you. Just make sure notifications are enabled on your phone and search for your team profile on the TuneIn app. Then, find the game you want under Events and tap Notify Me. We'll send you an alert as soon as live coverage begins.
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update. Surprising the troops, a tradition lives on. I'm Mike Moss. President Trump surprised U.S. forces in Afghanistan today with a holiday visit this Thanksgiving.
There's nowhere I'd rather celebrate this Thanksgiving than right here with the toughest, strongest, best and bravest warriors on the face of the earth. You are indeed that.
The president told the troops he hopes to end the longest war in U.S. history, and he thinks the Taliban also wants to bring the war to an end. Mary Geary has kept her holiday tradition at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York.
I've been doing it since 1976. I've marched for 18 years, and now my son, I'm watching. It's the best. Look, I mean, the holidays, the tradition, it's a tradition for our family. It's so exciting and lively. Can't beat it.
Winds subsided enough to allow the balloons to fly at the parade in New York, but the winds were too strong for the balloons to be floated for the parade in Philadelphia. After turkey and pie for many Americans, it's time to shop.
It's the shortest shopping season in 6 years, with Black Friday falling on the last Friday of November this year, and retailers have been trying to lure shoppers out even right after Halloween. 65% of consumers say the deals are just too good not to shop, according to the National Retail Federation, which estimates some $730 billion will be spent over the next 3.5 weeks. That's right, I said 3.5 weeks. The NRF also says consumers on average will spend a little over $1,000 this Christmas. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
A government report finds the administration unable to account for separated families along the southern border. More from correspondent Natasha Chen.
A lot of these errors point to software problems and the systems from different agencies not talking to each other. The report says this caused a lot of extra work, and overall this policy ended up costing more than $1 million in overtime.
The markets are closed for Thanksgiving. I'm Mike Moss.
Imagine a TV news network with facts, not fake news. There is one. Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel with an incredible lineup. On Monday nights, we have Mike Huckabee's show. Tuesday, Alan Dershowitz is on. Wednesday, Michelle Malkin. And every Thursday, see Bill O'Reilly. So don't miss Newsmax TV. Now on DirecTV, Xfinity, Dish, Spectrum, Cox, Optimum, Fios, Uverse, Suddenlink, and more. Just check your channel guide. Millions are watching Newsmax because it's real news for real people.
I'm Dr. Jeff Gooden, and I treat pain with Salon Pas. That's because practicing good medicine is my responsibility as a doctor. For back or joint pain, I agree with CDC guidance that recommends using topical pain relievers first, like Salon Pas Patch Large. Salon Pas is powerful, FDA approved to relieve debilitating moderate pain, yet non-addictive and gentle on the body. Look for the green Salon Pas box in the pain relief aisle. Salon Pas. It's good medicine.
Sponsored by Hisamitsu.
Another football league has gone under. The Arena Football League.
The Washington Post reports the indoor league nearly collapsed after it didn't play its 2009 season because of financial troubles. Before the AFL suspended operations last month, it had just 6 teams left: Albany, Atlantic City, Baltimore, Columbus, Philadelphia, and Washington. 3 of the teams had the same owner. 2 others were owned by Monumental Sports, which owns the Washington Wizards, Capitals, and Mystics. The league was founded in 1987 and was at its popularity peak from 1996 to 2008, when several NFL teams owned league franchises. It once had 19 teams and drew almost 13,000 fans per game. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Lelia Murphy, a 114-year-old former seamstress who'd been recognized as the oldest living American, has died. She was a New Yorker drawn to the city by the Harlem Renaissance. She was alive 114 years, 140 days.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. Global stocks slid along with U.S. futures today after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong protesters. The move raises worries about the prospects for an interim trade deal between China and the U.S. No need to wait until tomorrow, Black Friday, to do your holiday shopping. A lot of retailers are opening their doors today.
In a battle to get hold of your holiday shopping dollars, you can begin shopping 5 p.m. local time today at Macy's, Kohl's, Target, and Best Buy. Most JCPenney stores will open at 2 p.m., and Walmart store times will vary by location. But chains like Nordstrom, Costco, The Gap, Home Depot, Lowe's, and TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods all closed. And state laws in Maine, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island prohibit all stores from opening their doors on Thanksgiving Day. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Food prices are climbing fast in the world's biggest emerging markets, posing a possible inflation threat. Asia's 2 largest developing economies face a price surge for staple products, pork in China, onions in India, that are central to consumers' diets. Global central banks are approaching the end of the year with a collective shudder at the risky behavior that their low-interest rate policies are encouraging. Bloomberg's Greg Jarrett reports.
Policymakers from European central banks and the Federal Reserve are among those raising cautionary flags at potentially unsafe investing, stoked by their efforts to flood economies with ultra-cheap money. Stock indices from the U.S. to India are at records, and low sovereign bond yields have pushed funds into property seeking better returns. Greg Jarrett, Bloomberg Radio.
Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 1/3% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 0.25%. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2%. And the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Business Week from Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, I'm Jason Kelly.
And I'm Carol Masser. Welcome to the weekend edition of Bloomberg Business Week. As you know, it's a double issue, so we've got some more stories from the issue that's currently on newsstands and online. I love it. There's so many deep dives into different companies. One has to do with Amazon. What's going on at that company? They're spending a ton of money on lobbying efforts in the nation's capital, also locally, but it's not necessarily having the impact that they thought it might.
Also going to talk a little bit about Warby Parker. It's a company that we followed for a long time. Austin Carr wrote that story. We had an interesting conversation with him, and so it's another thing for you to feast on in this post-Thanksgiving edition.
They're eyeing a new business. How do you like that?
Oh, boy. Yeah. The puns are fast and furious. Also, one of my favorite stories, you might be thinking about traveling. You may be traveling right now. Amtrak, they've got a challenging road ahead of them, as it were, a new CEO, and man, he means business.
Plus, Google at war. It's the cover story. The search giant wants the military business, but many of its employees do not.
All right, that's a great story and a very good deep dive. But first up, private equity continuing to look for ways to put massive amounts of money to work could lead to the biggest leverage buyout of all time. We're talking about KKR and Walgreens.
2019 has been an interesting one when it comes to deals in the public and private markets, and there's one that's out there in the news that combines both markets. We're talking about KKR approaching drugstore giant Walgreens Boots Alliance about a deal to take the company private. It would be the biggest ever leveraged buyout.
Well, as you know, I'm obsessed with this story for so many reasons, and very proud of the team here at Bloomberg for breaking news on this continuously. It's a fast-moving story, we should point out, but we wanted to take a step back with Nabila Ahmed because because she has some great insights in the magazine this week about how this all came about and maybe what it means for the broader market. She's here with us in New York City. So, wow, or as Carol Master would say, whoa, this is potentially a huge deal. The fact that we're even talking about it seems important. How did we get here?
I think we traveled back in time, and it's 2007, guys.
So true.
We've gone back in time. Look, how did we get here? As we know, private equity has so much money to put to work. I think it's something like more than $2 trillion now, just in the past couple of years.
Crazy money, yeah.
It's doubled, so much money. So they're looking at increasingly bigger and more complicated deals to sort of have a bit of an edge at looking at industries that they know about, looking at companies they have already worked with. And this is where Stefano Pessina comes in. He is the CEO of Walgreens, and he is an incredible maverick, an incredible deal maker. He started off with one single struggling drug wholesaler in Naples in 1970s. It's a shop that his dad gave him to fix it. And he fixed that business, and he went on to fix his dad's friends' businesses. Then he expanded to Spain and France and the UK. And now he is leading the biggest drugstore retailer in the world.
How did he get there, though? That's interesting. Because you talk about really starting kind of at ground level here. And how did he get, though, to the point where he was involved with Walgreens and also Boots?
So he sold his UK company to Alliance Boots, and then he did a deal with KKR to take that company private. Eventually, they went on to buy Walgreens here in the US, and they have actually made, over the 9-year association, him and KKR, out of that deal, have made 3 times their money. They started off with $2.1 billion.
It's gone well.
They made $7 billion for their investors. It's gone really, really well.
And so it's no surprise then that when KKR deal makers are looking around and saying, what's out there to buy? We got this pot of money. What do we know? What might be a little bit undervalued, maybe not distressed quite, but certainly not stressed, exactly. If not distressed, a little bit stressed. And this is a guy we know. Right. KKR, well known for sort of cultivating these managers. I guess now that we've dealt with the equity side, let's go to the debt side, because the leverage in a leverage buyout means you got to borrow, in this case, tens and tens of billions of dollars. Is that even possible?
That's the thing. Analysts are saying that you're going to need about $50 billion. 50 of debt for this company. Not for no reason is it the biggest buyout in history. Right. Would it be? And there are questions about whether that can actually be raised in the leveraged loan market, which has traditionally been the market where M&A buyouts are funded, because people are starting to kind of push back. In the past few months, you've seen the single B rated, which is where most M&A loans are rated. People are selling those off because people are starting to get a bit worried about riskier assets. Right. And they're gravitating more towards investment grade. So if they were to do this deal, they would have to do some kind of financial engineering, some kind of cool, clever things to make it happen.
Well, and I do wonder, do they have to pull in somebody else to help get that deal done? It was so that maybe pulls in something on the equity side or something. Like, would they need to? Could they pull in another person beyond KKR?
We know that other private equity firms had also looked at Walgreens, so there are probably others out there who could potentially partner with them.
Doesn't mean they would.
Exactly. They're also, we know, have been talking to their LPs, so their fund investors, about going in with them, because pension funds and sovereign wealth funds also have a lot of money to put to work. So there are a lot of people looking at this deal. I think they would need about $30 billion of equity as well as the $50 billion of debt.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
The other thing I think about is what happens to Walgreens. Even if this deal doesn't work out, right? They need to do something, it seems like.
Yeah, they are definitely stressed. They are under so much pressure on a number of different fronts. They tried to do this buyout of Rite Aid a couple of years ago. They weren't able to do the deal at full scale that they wanted to do. So they're now closing some stores. They said that they're going to cut about $1.8 billion over the next couple of years. That's an annual save. So they're having to really scramble to figure out what's next.
And that's Nabila Ahmed. Great to catch up with her. She's on the M&A beat, the deals beat. And man, this one has really caught people's attention. The size, the scope, the names involved. Fascinating.
Pretty remarkable. We'll see how it ends up. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Coming up, we're going to talk about Amazon. They've been doing a lot of lobbying efforts down in D.C., also locally around the country. You know what, Jason? Not doing so well.
Yeah, striking out so far. This is Bloomberg.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their businesses strategically, yet the most competitive managers in the market know with the right partner and a flexible operating system, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President and Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Breaking up big tech has been the topic of recent congressional hearings, and it's also getting attention from antitrust regulators around the world. Marguerite Vestager, the head of the European Commission's antitrust division, says she plans to target the tech giants. Facebook and Google already face antitrust investigations from the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice. But the leader of Instagram says breaking up its parent company Facebook should be hard to do.
I don't think it's likely. It's certainly a possibility. You have to take these types of things seriously, so we do.
Instagram boss Adam Mosseri.
I think it would be really bad for Instagram. I think it would make it more difficult for us to keep people safe. It would make it more difficult for us to build and innovate.
Mosseri points to what they're doing at Instagram Shopping, which he says is built on top of the infrastructure work by the Facebook marketing team. So he backs the view of his boss, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, who has said breaking up companies is not going to solve issues such as election interference or hate speech. Steve Potusk, Bloomberg Radio.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition. For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked bread to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
I love Black Friday. Busy shops, crazy people, average deals. It's so much fun.
Said no one ever. So be savvy and do Black Friday the easy way with Smarty. Grab a huge 100 gig data SIM for just £17 a month on the Mega Plan. And with no credit checks, speed restrictions or contracts tying you down, you can kick back with the best Black Friday deal around. Now that's Smarty. Search Smarty Mobile to find out more, but hurry, as this deal won't be around for long. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
At Lidl, we're big on getting in the Christmas spirit with our award-winning 8-year-old Queen Margot blended Scotch whisky for just $12.99 and our award-winning range of Hortus Artisan gins and gin liqueurs from only $9.99. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
This year, make Christmas shopping a pleasure. Come to Bicester Village, with over 160 beautiful boutiques set in a fairy tale Cotswolds Christmas garden, glittering by day and magically illuminated by night. After a day's hard work finding the perfect gifts, reward yourself with festive menus and cocktails at Farm Shop Restaurant and Cafe by Soho House & Co. or a delicious dinner at Cafe Wolseley. Bicester Village, the perfect place for Christmas shopping.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jason Kelly from Bloomberg Radio.
Spending heavily on lobbying efforts in Washington, check. Lobbying more U.S. government entities than any other technology company. Yep, they've got that one covered too. Lobbying locally. Jason, they're doing that as well.
They're doing it all. Well, Amazon, we're used to them being ubiquitous and comprehensive in many ways. Eric Newcomer is here with us. He's got a great story in this week's edition of the magazine. It's about Amazon on K Street, the famous lobbying corridor there, hasn't gone so well. Right. And also hasn't gone so well in some of these local races.
Right. So they spend a ton of money on lobbying, $4 million in a quarter. I think they lobbied on more issues than any tech company last year. They spent about $1.5 million just on their local Seattle race. So Amazon is flooding politics with money. But then, as I documented in the story, has a lot of problems, like issue to issue, just really struggling sort of with this tech clash and to win the political battles with all that money.
So is it the company at large has problems, or are there a few individuals who really have some problems?
Well, the company as a business obviously is doing great, but then, Jay Carney runs, former Obama press secretary, runs this huge policy shop with his deputy, this guy, Brian Huseman, former Republican administration, Federal Trade Commission lawyer, and together they've really tried to staff up so they're ready to fight. And so on a lot of issues, whether it's like trade wars, they have somebody in talking to the administration trying to lobby. But then on some of these bigger, more iconic issues, we talk about the move to New York, we could talk about Seattle, we could talk about this huge JEDI contract where Amazon was competing to win a $10 billion government contract, and then Microsoft came out of nowhere and took it from them. So Amazon has had just a lot of trouble on the policy front.
Well, and it's interesting too, because you document very well a number of these cases, which you just described in brief. But what strikes me too is that on paper it looks like they did all the right things. Right. They hire a big time Democrat, they hire a big time Republican. They've got the team in place. And then, and this feels very 2019, it's a bunch of unforced errors in a lot of ways that ultimately sort of set them back. Tell us about that.
Right. So if we take, Jay Carney, this very polished communicator, I think he's hired during the Obama administration when it seems like Hillary Clinton might win again. Amazon takes, responding to Trump tweets, a sort of almost hostile posture towards Trump. Then Trump's elected.
During the campaign.
Exactly, during the campaign. And then Trump's elected, and so Bezos and Trump have this very negative relationship, partially because Bezos owns the Washington Post. Then they have a Democrat as their chief sort of spokesman. So that's a challenge. And then time passes, and Carney has now more recently given an interview where he suggested that there weren't any patriots working in the Trump administration, unlike the Obama and Bush administrations, which he apologized for. He made this really bad tweet about umpires during the national games, so he's just had some challenges as sort of the public voice of Amazon. And then the other character is this guy, Brian Huseman, who's sort of the inside operator. And he staffed up this team, but there's just been a lot of drama internally.
Well, and that's what's interesting because, you're seeing the drama play out within the company as well. So they've done apologies externally as well as having to apologize to everybody inside as well.
Right. So with
people questioning what they're doing.
Exactly. With Carney, he wrote an email titled Self-Criticism to his staff, just talking about the umpire tweets, reflecting that he's not just some, guy out on Twitter. He reflects this global powerhouse of a company.
But can I read that tweet? Calling the umpires, quote, a bunch of overweight, diabetic, half-blind geriatrics. He ended his tweet with a call to bring in the machines.
Right. And, obviously the first half is what everyone is upset about, but then for a company that's accused all the time of automation, it's just very strange to be hitting the message of, automating out the umpire. Like, in every way, the tweet is just odd.
Where's Jeff Bezos on all of this? I mean, these are his two key people here.
I mean, he's, very behind the scenes. And I think, given his ownership of the Washington Post, has wanted to take a more, confrontational or at least sort of strong position against Trump, and that he's picked Carney to sort of be his guide, but Bezos is very behind the scenes. I mean, it's hard to know exactly what a CEO is thinking about, the small sort of the infighting within his DC office.
And so, Eric, widen the aperture for us a little bit, because you look across the tech landscape, you understand how these companies work, not just Amazon, but the whole array, I guess, of social media companies, tech companies, who all of a sudden really have to care more about Washington, in part because Washington is all of a sudden caring a lot about them, and maybe not in a good way.
Yeah, I'm growing tired of the phrase, but we're in a tech clash, right? And there's, an antitrust investigations, the Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Justice, the House Judiciary Committee, state attorneys general, everybody is investigating big tech companies, including Amazon, into antitrust. So
Democrats and Republicans are all in on this.
They're the punching bag. And so that's the situation Amazon faces. In my story, I talk about a lobbyist who, has a generally positive view of Amazon, sort of defending them, saying, some of the problems are just they've, grown so much. I think they doubled sort of the lobbying staff over the last 3 years. So that's part of the reason. But he says Amazon might have trouble, but they're doing better than Google and Facebook. And I think that is a sort of fair defense. I don't dig in to Google and Facebook. That's a whole nother dive. But there is a general sense that the tech companies in general are struggling to respond to
right, because as much as the president himself has gone after Jeff Bezos, we haven't seen Jeff Bezos testifying on Capitol Hill. Right. We have seen Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg. Right. So there is this element that despite some of the headwinds that you described, that maybe they're doing okay.
Yeah, well, and some of the problems
on a relative basis.
Yeah, I think definitely when it comes to testifying in front of Congress, in general, sort of congressman animosity towards the CEO. Mark Zuckerberg is winning that fight, and Bezos looks a lot better. But Amazon has had a lot of problems, like in Seattle, in New York. So they're not all sort of the federal, election type problems that Facebook has had.
But I do think about as these big tech companies look to broaden out their revenue streams, the cloud, and particularly playing into those government contracts, those are big deal contracts. Right. And I think about our audience, investors. They're watching this to see whether or not they're able to make some inroads.
Right. And, JEDI, this Defense Department contract, isn't just about that $10 billion deal. Right. It's sort of, that's what's getting you in deeper with the Defense Department. And so I don't think it's just that amount of money. It's significant, but Amazon is a $870-something billion market cap company, but it's about the long-term relationship.
That's Eric Newcomer. Love this story about what Amazon is up to. They're spending heavily in lobbying efforts in Washington. They're lobbying more U.S. government entities than any other tech company. But it's interesting, Jason, it doesn't seem to be paying off.
It's not working at all. You're exactly right, Carol. And this is coming at a time where the relationship between Washington and Silicon Valley, in the words of Facebook, it's complicated.
Jason, you had me at you're exactly right.
This is Bloomberg.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Dreaming of prepping that perfect Thanksgiving feast? Let Tune In lend a hand with our collection of cooking podcasts, like the Bon Appetit Foodcast.
All right, guys, we have 10 minutes to discuss your expertly spiced and glazed roast turkey. It starts
and
now.
Good food.
So welcome to Good Food. Oh, thank you for having me. So how many years have you been hosting your own?
It varies from year to year and by my own...
Search Thanksgiving on TuneIn to take your turkey day table to the next level.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and blows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Did you know your favorite radio stations are in your pocket? Yes, the TuneIn app lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio anywhere you want. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
Hey, TuneIn listeners, Steve Kornacki here from NBC News. I want to tell you about a podcast I'm hosting called Article 2, Inside Impeachment. It's dedicated to bringing you the latest developments on the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I talk to NBC News reporters who are closest to the story to break down what's new, what matters, and what it means for the 2020 election. Search and favorite Article 2, Inside Impeachment on TuneIn.
Along the goal line, scores! It takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
Hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
And a shot.
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
President Trump made a stop in Afghanistan today, surprising and thanking U.S. forces fighting America's longest war.
We thank God for your health and all of the things that you've done. You are very special people, and you don't even know how much the people of our country love and respect you, and they do. That's why I'm here. I'm just bringing the message.
A sheriff says there are no lingering air quality risks one day after two massive explosions rocked a Texas chemical plant, but mandatory evacuations remain in effect due to ongoing danger from flames, explosions, and debris. Facebook has identified the cause of outages that left some users in the U.S. unable to post photos or answer messages on Facebook or Instagram during part of this Thanksgiving holiday. Thousands complained of being locked out of their accounts. The markets are closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm Mike Moss.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. Asian and European stocks, along with U.S. futures, slipped today after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong protesters. The move brings another threat of retaliation from China and raises concerns about the prospects for an interim trade deal. Well, the White House pushed yesterday to wrap final negotiations with Democrats on the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Yesterday's meeting broke up without a USMCA deal announcement, but Mexico and Canada say there was progress. OPEC and its allies hold ministerial talks in Vienna next week. Bloomberg's Nathan Hager reports any hopes they'll agree to deeper production cuts have all but evaporated.
A
Bloomberg survey of 35 global oil analysts and traders finds just one of them thinks oil ministers will agree to a further reduction. The 24-nation bloc already cut output by 1.2 million barrels a day this year to prevent a supply glut. Most analysts think they'll extend that agreement to the middle of next year. That's a shift from earlier this month when OPEC Plus promised to do whatever it takes to balance markets. That had nearly a quarter of analysts thinking that meant further cutbacks. In Washington, Nathan Hager, Bloomberg Radio.
Apollo's boosted its cash offer for Tech Data from $130 to $145 a share. Tech Data received a competing bid during its go-shop period. The new deal gives Tech Data an enterprise value of $6 billion. It's expected to close in the first half of 2020. Frozen 2 is expected to keep its number one ranking at the box office with an estimated $85 million over the holiday weekend. That's according to Box Office Pro. Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 1/3% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 0.25%. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2%. And the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jason Kelly from Bloomberg Radio.
So, Carol, I caught up with the co-founders of Atoms. You've seen me wear their sneakers.
Yes, I have.
I wanted to know the story underneath it, and I have to say, it is even more fascinating than I thought. It's a husband and wife team, Waqas Ali and Sidra Kasim. They met in their village in Pakistan. They came to Brooklyn via Y Combinator. It's so cool.
Here's your conversation.
All right, so this is a shoe that I really like, I have to say. I'm a bit of a sneakerhead, and I love the different feel and just the whole different vibe of this shoe. So I'm a little biased coming into this interview. Waqas, I want to start with you because the story of this company, Pakistan, Y Combinator, Brooklyn, how did that happen?
It is a kind of crazy story, and we did not intended it to be like this when we were starting off. We had no idea. We started our first shoe company in our hometown in Pakistan, Okada, and then we kept going. It was a small project, became a Kickstarter project. Then we applied into Y Combinator, first shoe company to get into Y Combinator, first company from Pakistan to get into Y Combinator. And in 2015, we moved to the US in San Francisco.
And so, Sidra, why do you think the pitch resonated so much? There are a lot of firsts there. What was it about this particular company that you think caught the interest of Y Combinator and ultimately a lot of big-name investors?
Yeah, so this company is not part of Y Combinator. Our previous shoe company was part of Y Combinator.
Got it. Okay.
But I think the exciting thing is that this shoes is not just a shoes. This is a very, very personal shoes. Like, very comfortable, very durable, very breathable, and as well as the fit is very precise for you. And like when we were inviting our friends to try on the first sample, and I still remember like their impressions, like they were super, super excited to try on the shoes. And we started this as a very small project, and somehow like it started becoming bigger and bigger.
And so what was the inspiration, Waqas, for this particular shoe?
So we were making and selling dress shoes already. And when we were in Pakistan, we had no idea that people are actually mainly wear sneakers every day. They don't wear dress shoes as much. Even that trend is declining. Even you are wearing your Atoms right now.
Absolutely.
So we noticed that. And then we were like, hey, we both are very passionate about product, particularly in shoes. It's one of the hardest products to ever make. Shoes is very difficult. And we were like, hey, can we make a shoe that people would want to wear every day? Not that we want to sell. Can we build a shoe that people would want to wear every day? And that is where this idea of a casual, very, very simple. All the products we wear every single day, they tend to be very simple.
Right.
Still extremely, extremely comfortable. We were going after the best of the best in the industry after Nike and Adidas and comfort. And we only make one shoe, so we put a lot of effort into the precision sizing, the quarter sizing, the comfort of the shoes, the laces, how high or how small something is. Like this midsole, it took us 6 months to work on that, to just make it more comfortable than the Adidas Ultra
6 months on the midsole?
On the midsole, yeah. It was it was one of the hardest things, because if you only make one shoes and your pitch is that you're going to wear it every day, when you make just one product, you can't just like compromise on that. You have to get it right. Otherwise, you have no business, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
And so why is manufacturing so difficult for shoes, Sidra? Because this is something you've worked on for a long time. You've worked in Korea, I believe, on that particular aspect of the business. Why are shoes so difficult?
I think one of the most important reason is you have all your body weight on the shoes. And then shoes actually go into different environment. Like you sit in the office with different sitting positions. Some people, they stand a lot. Some people, they walk a lot. So basically, shoes is not just like a simple product like your handbag where you store things.
Right.
Shoes is something which basically you carry on throughout the day from morning to evening. So that's why like making a product which is basically accommodate you throughout the day and as well as super comfortable is very hard to make.
I guess I'd never really thought about that. I mean, there's a lot of physics involved, I guess, in our interaction with shoes in a way that we don't have with a lot of other products. So why do you think, especially having been in the dress shoe business and now in the sneaker business, why are sneakers having such a moment, Waqas?
Mainly it is because of a lot of cultural icons are the face of this movement. That is one part. America especially and world in general is becoming more and more passionate because we have so many young people coming into the world these days, and they are not hesitant. They are not hesitant about ideas. They're not hesitant about movement. They're not hesitant about their interest or passion about certain celebrities or icons or whatever we want to call them. So that is like what we learned. We actually have a name for our customer called the New Creative. And these are people who are very considerate about what they buy, where they buy it from, what things look like. And every brand like Nike and Adidas, they champion it with sportsmanship. And now we are seeing a lot more entertainment, a lot more lifestyle.
And that's Waqas Ali and Sidra Kasim, the husband and wife team behind Adams. It was so cool to catch up with them. I have to say, I love their sneakers. I wanted to meet them. I really didn't know what to expect. And it was an amazing story.
Great story, Jason. And I love the backstory, too, about this company and these two individuals. It's this week's Bloomberg Business Week Extra podcast, so check it out, everyone. Coming up, we've got Google's complicated relationship with the military. It is the magazine's cover story.
This is Bloomberg.
The lifeblood of tech startups isn't just money. It's executive and technical skills. The kind of skills that companies need to build real products. And the skills that venture capitalist Chris Sugden of Edison Partners sees in the graduates that are coming out of New Jersey Institute of Technology.
The amazing thing about NJIT is their graduates, they have multiple offers on average, not just one. They're coming out with real skill sets that are immediately hireable and available to them. I think we see an understanding by the faculty and administration at NJIT that we've got to train and educate the whole student, not just their, one side of their brain. And I do think that's sort of part of the DNA today. There's practical and there's sort of academia, and merging those two together and understanding that if we're going to have our young people go get great jobs and have great successful careers, they've got to have both sides of their brain activated. And I think we see that with NJIT.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold. Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown. Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
On behalf of all of us here at TuneIn,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hope you saved room for some great listening.
Your live sports, on your drive to your family's house,
or set some relaxing dinner music.
Just open your TuneIn app and have a great turkey day.
To LeBron, slam dunk.
The NBA is on TuneIn Premium. Each week, TuneIn picks an NBA game you just can't miss. The Utah Jazz are north of the border to take on the defending champions, Toronto Raptors. Hard pulls back, trying to make it 11-2.
Kawhi Leonard is all over the place.
This Sunday, the Utah Jazz are at the Toronto Raptors. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. Eastern. Search NBA on TuneIn to follow your favorite NBA team today.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
President Trump made a stop in Afghanistan today, surprising and thanking U.S. forces fighting America's longest war.
We thank God for your health and all of the things that you've done. You are very special people, and you don't even know how much the people of our country love and respect you, and they do. That's why I'm here. I'm just bringing the message.
A sheriff says there were no lingering air quality risks one day after 2 massive explosions rocked a Texas chemical plant, but mandatory evacuations remain in effect due to ongoing danger from flames, explosions, and debris. Facebook has identified the cause of outages that left some users in the U.S. unable to post photos or answer messages on Facebook or Instagram during part of this Thanksgiving holiday. Thousands complained of being locked out of their accounts. The markets are closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm Mike Moss.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jason Kelly from Bloomberg Radio.
Google, the early years, all about the company's search engine, all about online advertising, and yet the company hitting middle age, Jason, so it's looking for some different revenue streams.
Well, we talk a lot about sort of existential questions around companies. I feel like this story hits at Google's in a lot of ways. Don't be evil, that was back in the day, and now in the business with the military, trying to figure out what they're going to be, as you say, in middle age, and as they get more and more grown up. Joshua Brustein here with us. It's a terrific story, and I love the headline. It had me from that. Google and the Generals. Tell us about this intersection that this tech company, Silicon Valley, is having with the military-industrial complex.
Sure. So we tell the story of Google's basically tortured relationship with the Pentagon. We really saw this come out into the public view early last year when Google employees began objecting to what had been a secret military program called Project Maven to use advanced artificial intelligence technology to analyze drone imagery. And so this was a program that drones gather an immense amount of video. Actually, analysts watch it for the most part, and the Pentagon said if we could have some sort of automated analysis that would just tell them which parts to watch, that would be useful. Google was one of the companies who was helping with this. Some of its employees said, that seems like we're getting too close to building weapons, and basically broke out into this huge public spat.
And Google backed out, right?
And eventually Google decided not to renew its work on the contract and stopped working on it earlier this year.
Well, it's interesting, and I think it speaks to the kind of tortured relationship that Google has with the government. Like we were talking in the newsroom about how for such a long time Silicon Valley big tech were kind of proud to kind of,
tell Washington to kiss off.
Basically, thank you very much. And now they're embracing Washington, right? Because they are looking for new business lines, particularly AI or the cloud. They want to be more involved.
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is you have this very sort of visceral reaction to a specific military program. I think defense work makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But if you look a little bit below that, you also see another transition happening at Google that is making people at the company uncomfortable, which is it's trying to supplement its consumer business, the search engines, the email, all based on advertising, with a cloud computing business. Right. And that means basically entering into specific relationships with large institutions and helping them analyze their data and do something with it.
And so talk to us about Google specifically in this case, because as Carol sort of set up the conversation, we do go back to this, kind of ragtag startup back in Silicon Valley. I mean, it was in many ways the quintessential, sort of university dropout, create this company that changes the world type situation. But as it's grown up, it's really had to wrestle with its own image and its own values in a lot of ways. And a lot of those came to the fore in the Project Maven protest. But this hasn't really died down that much in many ways. These discussions are still pretty fierce within the company.
Absolutely. I think in comparison to other large tech companies, Google has always kind of been the most extreme case of this Silicon Valley idealism. I think, that a lot of the work the company does is actually just kind of academic research. Its original mission was to organize the world's information. Initially even was concerned about maybe even going into advertising. It really just wanted to do the tech. Eventually it kind of got over that, and obviously the advertising is, the business right now. But you do see it's moving into new businesses and challenging its own assumptions at a time that sort of the Silicon Valley's culture generally is being challenged in many ways.
But it's interesting because I feel like different members of big tech and Silicon Valley in particular are challenged differently. In other words, Microsoft gets a big government cloud contract and it seems to be okay. But Google gets involved and there's a lot of pushback internally from its employees and I even think publicly. So what's the difference? How are we breaking out big tech in terms of their, relationships and involvement with the government? Particularly defense.
Well, so I think Microsoft is actually a pretty good contrast. There's, I think, two differences between Google and Microsoft. I think the first is an internal difference, which is that Google has always had this culture where they kind of debate everything. There's a long history of these message boards where like everything came up for kind of rigorous debate.
Right.
Microsoft, a very buttoned up company, it's top down. And then the second thing, to allude to your point about sort of the way the public looks at them, Microsoft has kind of receded as a real consumer-facing company. Most of its business has been in enterprise computing lately. Yeah. Google is like one of the things we think about as the internet. So when people, people use Google search every day, and then they think, wait, they're building weapons or they're hearing, they're building military something, and that makes people uneasy in a way it doesn't maybe with companies that are not in their day-to-day consciousness.
Well, and I want to go back to something you said a minute ago, because it really sort of flips this around in a really interesting way, and it ties to another story I believe you were involved in the magazine this week around Amazon and its lobbying and trying to find its way in a much more complicated nation's capital in a lot of ways. And a nation's capital filled with lawmakers, regulators, and politicians who are a little more skeptical about tech than they were 10 years ago. So how does that play into the decision-making at Google when you have antitrust investigations and this sort of skepticism and, dare I say, techlash?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it, Amazon is also in a very difficult, although I think different situation. For Google, what happened was it publicly rejected the military. I don't think that was its intention. It certainly wasn't its leadership's intention, but it did it.
Yeah.
And Google has a lot of enemies on the right who saw this as an opportunity to attack the company as being unpatriotic, especially because it does some work in China. I think there was some genuine confusion and outrage within the Pentagon. You saw senior military officials criticizing a commercial company, which is not usual. And Google has basically spent the last year backpedaling, trying to reassure the government and the military specifically that, hey, no, we're good actors here, we're willing to work with you. I get the feeling that within the Pentagon that has been working.
Interesting.
But within the political class, not as much.
But it's interesting you say, Joshua, that they're backpedaling, but they're also courting big time, right? The U.S. government and the Defense Department.
Oh, yeah, I think
Google wants in.
Yeah, the format of backpedaling is to say, oh, we're backpedaling, we'll take your contracts, which is what they want anyway. So it is kind of a self-serving backpedal, if you will.
And so what do you make of the current state of the internal debate at Google? You talk to a lot of people there. As you say, the message board's still pretty lively. There has been some action taken against employees around media leaks and other elements here. It still feels unsettled when it comes to the internal politics of the company. It's
definitely unsettled. Google has been in a very contentious relationship with some faction of its workforce. You've seen action taken against internal activists, mostly for doing things like accessing information that company's leadership said was confidential. And you see the company really not wanting to back down like it did with Maven. And at the same time, you see people within the company who want to shape its future, trying to extend beyond military contracting into things like border contracts, even into things like dealing with the oil and gas industry. So there is a real tension going on there where both sides are trying to kind of claim as much ground as they can in their own internal debate.
How important is all of this in terms of branching out and being more involved in government contracts important for Google's future?
So I think that Google sees cloud computing as a big part of its future. Right now, it is clearly in third place behind Amazon and Microsoft. The actual government contracts are big. This big cloud computing contract, JEDI, which Microsoft just won, is $10 billion. That's big, but it's not really big in the large scheme of cloud computing contracts. I think what Google is hoping is if it could win some government contracts, it's sort of a sign of confidence for the rest of the market that, hey, we can do the serious work.
Right.
And that's really what it wants to do here.
Well, and what's interesting is you talk about Google's history that they should have been in this market early on, correct? In terms of the cloud. They understood what was going on very early on.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at what cloud computing is, it's basically being good at building large data centers, which Google's been doing, and being the best at artificial intelligence software that can take an enormous amount of data, analyze it, and do something with it. Now, that's Google's specialty. For whatever reason, it has fallen behind some of its key competitors, and I think that stings.
That's Joshua Brustein on our cover story, Google at War. It's Google looking to expand their revenue streams, but it's not going to be so easy, especially when you've got employees internally not happy about it.
Yeah, that internal strife, I think, is one of the most fascinating aspects of all of this, and really a window into Silicon Valley right now and its very complicated relationship with Washington and even itself. And that wraps up the first hour of the weekend edition of Bloomberg Business Week from Bloomberg Radio. I'm Jason Kelly.
And I'm Carol Masser. Plenty in our next hour, including one of my favorite stories also in the magazine. It's about Amtrak. You know about the Northeast Corridor, but there's so much more going on with this company.
We're also going to talk about betting on Wall Street, talking about sports betting in this case. And one of my favorites, Warby Parker. I've got their glasses. Now they're looking at contacts.
Plus, taking a ride with the president and CEO at Porsche Cars North America.
This is Bloomberg.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
At Asda this Christmas, treat them to a gift or two, or 3. With 3 for 2 on a wide range of beauty and toiletry gift sets. From Dove, Lynx, Bayliss and Harding and many more. Asda, let's make Christmas extra special. Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Individual prices £1 to £20. Cheapest item free.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. For exclusive Black Friday offers on selected video doorbells and cameras, visit ring.com and major retailers.
Thanksgiving is all about traditions like turkey, cranberry sauce, and bickering about politics with your relatives. If the dinner table gets to be too much, escape for a bit and pop in your earbuds to listen to the excitement of the NFL on TuneIn. We've got live play-by-play of every football game, so you can listen to epic touchdowns instead of your Uncle Harold.
Elliott picks his way into the end zone for the leading touchdown.
Live NFL when it matters the most. Hear it all season long on TuneIn.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. Featuring nonstop music, binge-worthy podcasts, 24-hour news, and live NFL, NHL, and NBA games. At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
At Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now a global news update.
Turkey and troops. Thanksgiving evacuees. I'm Mike Moss. President Trump surprised American forces in Afghanistan with a Thanksgiving visit and joked about not getting any turkey.
I sat down, I had a gorgeous piece of turkey, and I was all set to go, and I had some of the mashed potatoes, and I had a bite of mashed potatoes. And I never got to the turkey because General Milley said, come on over, sir, let's take some pictures. I never got to my turkey. It's the first time in Thanksgiving that I've never had anything called turkey. But that's okay. But it looked awfully good, I have to tell you that. I should have started with that instead of the mashed potatoes. I made a mistake.
Trump's visit was his first to Afghanistan since becoming president and came just a week after a prisoner swap between Washington and Kabul that has raised some hopes for a revival of a peace agreement. Weather allowed the balloons to float along the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City.
The parade is so great, it's so big. This is my second time here, and it's just great. I'm here with my daughter, my son-in-law, and my grandkids.
I don't miss this for nothing in the world.
It just reminds you of what you should be thankful for, and it's just a great time.
More than 50,000 people are away from home after two explosions at a chemical plant in Port Neches, Texas. Correspondent Ed Lavandera says a fire at the plant continues to burn.
The great concern right now is for those residents who live in the immediate area around that chemical plant. A 4-mile radius around that chemical plant is under a mandatory evacuation. Even yesterday afternoon, there was a second explosion, so tense times there in the town of Port Neches, Texas.
China says U.S. support for pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong will get in the way of cooperation. That's expected to mean less cooperating in ongoing U.S.-China trade talks. I'm Mike Moss.
I'm Dr. Bob Arnott, and I treat pain with Salonpas. Before you take anything for back or joint pain, I recommend applying topical pain relievers first, like Salonpas lidocaine patch. Salonpas lidocaine contains the maximum strength lidocaine available without a prescription. It blocks pain receptors, providing effective, long-lasting, and non-addictive relief. Also available in roll-on or cream. Look for the silver Salonpas box in the pain relief aisle. Salonpas, it's good medicine.
Sponsored by Hisamitsu.
The Court Holiday Home BOGO sale runs November 1st through the 30th, and the entire store is buy one, get one free with code BOGO19. Sofas, chairs, chests, BOGO. Pillows, rugs, mirrors, BOGO. Every piece is court certified, plus financing is available. See store for details and find your nearest location at courtfurnitureoutlet.com. Don't miss the Court Holiday Home BOGO sale. That's buy one, get one free. November 1st through the 30th. Item of equal or lesser value. Not valid with special orders, other offers, or discounts.
Congress may have found one area of agreement, a bill that tackles the problem of robocalls.
Those robocalls are plaguing everyone, including members of Congress, and they're ready to do something about it. A compromise between the House and Senate has yielded a bill that requires phone companies to verify that phone numbers are real and block robocalls without charging consumers any extra money. The measure also pushes the Justice Department to bring more criminal prosecutions against robocallers, and it gives the FCC more time and more authority to investigate and punish those who break the law. The House could take up the compromise bill as soon as next week. The Senate could follow shortly thereafter. Lindy Kenyon, Washington.
A Denny's waitress in Galveston, Texas has much to be thankful for. A couple she served found out that she had walked 14 miles because she couldn't afford a car and went out and bought and delivered her a car. Her walk to and from work took more than 4 hours each day. I'm Mike Moss.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. China has repeated its intention to retaliate after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong's protesters. Bloomberg's China correspondent Tom McKenzie says it could disrupt trade talks.
Beijing summoned America's ambassador for the second time this week, while foreign ministry officials accused the U.S. of quote-unquote meddling in China's affairs. They also warned that cooperation between the two countries could be jeopardized. Previous U.S. actions, including the blacklisting of Chinese companies and arms sales to Taiwan, have elicited forceful rhetoric from Beijing, but little in the way of concrete actions. Analysts at Citigroup expect more of the same now, with China focused on trying to secure a partial trade deal with Washington.
Amazon says it'll hire 200,000 seasonal workers in the U.S. to work in warehouses and make deliveries. That is double the number of temporary workers it hired last year. Congress has given itself another 3 weeks to resolve budget issues and finance the government until next September and avoid shutting it down again. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports from Washington.
Budget negotiators agreed on spending limits for the next year, but as Douglas Holtz-Eakin, the economist who heads the American Action Forum, noted in a Bloomberg interview, the sticking point once again is President Trump's demand to finance a wall on the Mexican border.
They couldn't get there because of the wall. They've got problems with the National Defense Authorization Act. That always has been bipartisan. It's stopped dead because of the wall. Until they figure out how to handle the wall and the ability of the president to move money to build the wall, even when Congress hasn't appropriated it, they're not going to have a deal.
The issue is also making the Homeland Security spending bill one of the hardest to pass.
Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 1/3% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 1/4. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2, and the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Business Week from Bloomberg Radio.
Hello, I'm Carol Masser.
And I'm Jason Kelly. Plenty ahead for you in this hour of the weekend edition of Bloomberg Business Week, including a ride on the rails, New York to New Orleans. It may be a disappearing route as Amtrak tries to figure out how should I say this, make money.
Speaking of rides, we took a ride with the president and CEO at Porsche Cars North America, part of the Year Ahead Luxury Edition. So we'll see what's on his mind.
Plus, Warby Parker catching up with Austin Carr about what their plans are. Everybody has tried to be the Warby Parker of something. Maybe they're going to be the Warby Parker of contacts. But first, Carol, the financial world is changing as Wall Street looks into sports betting.
It's not your father's or grandfather's Wall Street, that's for sure. And get ready for even more changes as trading firms look to get into gaming and sports betting markets. Jason, we know the financial world is definitely changing.
Well, it's trading firms, it's exchanges as well. This came up in a conversation we had not too long ago with Adina Friedman over at the NASDAQ. Annie Massa is here with us, taking us into the world of sports and exchanges and trading. So what'd you find?
Wall Street firms are dipping a toe in the water of sports betting. And it's an interesting time right now because a federal ban on sports betting was lifted in the U.S. last year. And you're starting to see about 13 states legalizing the practice with more potentially to come. And you've got a couple of different kinds of firms looking for ways in.
This is so interesting because I think about how many conversations we had with our sports team about this. They were all looking forward, to the ruling and what it meant for online betting firms. But I didn't really think about the potential for Wall Street firms benefiting from it as well. And that's what this is about.
Exactly. There is some overlap for certain types of firms. The most obvious example is that NASDAQ has licensed some of its exchange technology to horse race markets in Hong Kong and Australia and Sweden.
It's a trading platform, right?
Exactly. It's a trading platform. And as they were saying, there's no need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to handling large volumes of transactions on these kinds of markets. And they recently also licensed matching engine technology to a UK-based sports betting platform where you can own stakes in players. So that's one way that a Wall Street firm is getting into this business.
So talk to us about who is the most interested and, from your perspective, most interesting name here.
Well, one really compelling case that we go into in the story is Susquehanna, which has created a sports betting division operating out of Dublin right now. And they're betting on the outcomes of U.S. sports games. But the idea is to kind of almost make two-sided markets on online exchanges that exist in the UK, for example. And it's interesting because there are some parallels there. Just as they operate as a market maker in financial markets, they can do a similar thing in sports betting markets too.
And I think about the potential. I mean, the sports betting market, it's a huge one, right? So this is potentially a big revenue stream for some of these financial firms. Potentially,
it's not as big as other financial markets, which I think will actually limit its growth. Some of the projections are all over the place for how big this could be in the U.S., but we found projections that it could be about $17 billion, which if you think for huge market making or hedge fund firms, that's not gigantic.
So who's likely to get involved? So we're not talking about your big Wall Street firms potentially, right? Who, we mentioned Susquehanna. Who else might get involved?
It seems like a niche opportunity for expert market makers where you could leverage some of your technology in these kinds of places.
Folks are looking for different ways to make money right now. We had a conversation with a longtime Wall Street guy, former broker, who was saying, look, these guys are going to make money somewhere, especially in the age of zero fees.
Yeah, so that's why I think that you're seeing different kinds of firms looking for ways in. While I could never really see in the immediate term like a BlackRock getting into sports betting, on the brokerage side, there are some interesting opportunities. And both TD Ameritrade and Interactive Brokers have some sports betting related projects in the works.
I don't know. I'm thinking as investors, like, what should we be watching out for? What kind of, developments should we anticipate are coming in the new year?
Well, on the individual investor side, TD Ameritrade has said that they're exploring ways into this market. Interactive Brokers is kind of an interesting case where they have a platform that they run that's all kind of a game of sports betting, but you have the potential to earn free credits and trading commissions. I will say I'm not sure how that has changed in the aftermath of the fee wars, where you have commissions going to zero, but you have opportunities to win some real returns of some kind. And I think the whole idea there is to expose their users to the concept. If you think about it, these brokerages have these platforms with users existing who might want to participate in some way. So they're looking for a way into.
Well, and it does feel like there are a couple sort of mega trends here. I mean, one is sort of gamification, right? I mean, people love betting for a lot of obvious reasons. They've loved it for centuries, literally, just because it ties to lots of different games. But also this idea that these companies, these firms want broader, deeper, more meaningful, and ultimately more profitable relationships with their customers. And so if you could give them another reason to hit the app or hit the website, I mean, I don't know if anybody actually calls their broker anymore, but, to extend and deepen that relationship, it would make sense.
Yeah, and a way to just apply some of the technology they already have to another kind of market. It doesn't have to go gangbusters, but it could just be another little way to eke out some more revenue for them.
Which sort of takes us back to NASDAQ and the conversation that we had with Adina Friedman when she was our guest on Business Week Talks. I mean, she talked about this because, to your exact point, Annie, is this idea of look, we got this technology. We know how this works. This is ultimately a market. This is technology that we have that maybe no one else does. We're global. So
why not
just
do
a lot of upside here. There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah. And the exchange space is interesting too, because that's a place where you've seen the revenue that you can earn from just trading operations shrinking in the very developed stock market. So I think that's part of the reason that NASDAQ has looked for how else can we apply our technology.
And that's Annie Massa, a look into Wall Street, maybe from a little bit of a different lens, a callback definitely to a conversation we had a little earlier this year with the CEO of NASDAQ.
And we should note, Interactive Brokers is a sponsor of Bloomberg Radio. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Coming up, Warby Parker tries to expand the company's vision, going from eyeglasses to contacts.
I see what you did there. This is Bloomberg.
Hey, y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute.
Beam me aboard. Energized.
If you're sitting in holiday traffic, teleportation like in Star Trek probably seems like a pretty sweet idea right now. And it's a business Japan's biggest airline is getting into with its avatar robots.
We are trying a new form of transportation that will allow people to physically transport their consciousness and skills to a concrete location.
Kevin Kajitani, co-director of the Avatar division at ANA Holdings, says the company is testing avatars that can see and hear for you in faraway places while you control them from home.
Biped avatars. We also have a working fishing avatar. We have all these different types of avatar platforms.
Aging populations, crowded tourist hotspots, and flight shaming, all sparking demand for pushing into new frontiers.
The global airline industry only serves 6% of the world population. population on a yearly basis.
May take a while to beam up profits, though the market for virtual travel estimated to be just a speck in the tourism universe right now. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg.
At Lidl, we're big on getting in the Christmas spirits with our award-winning 8-year-old Queen Margot blended Scotch whisky for just $12.99 and our award-winning range of Hortus Artisan gins and gin liqueurs from only $9.99. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
At Asda this Christmas, treat them to a gift or two, or 3, with 3 for 2 on a wide range of beauty and toiletry gift sets, from Dove, Lynx, Bayliss and Harding and many more. Asda, let's make Christmas extra special. Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Individual prices £1 to £20, cheapest item free.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jason Kelly from Bloomberg Radio.
Its eyeglass frames are everywhere, and now it wants to take that success and apply it to contacts.
We're talking about Warby Parker. I have the glasses. I'm not wearing them. Yes. Austin Carr has the glasses. He is wearing them.
I am wearing them.
He went deep into this company. It's a fascinating story because we talked with Joel Weber, the editor of Business Week, about this. This is in part a strategy story in a lot of ways because this was a company that launched a whole line of imitators in various businesses. Tell us where Warby is right now.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, this was the company that sparked this, crazy trend of what we call direct-to-consumer companies. Sort of if you have Allbirds or Casper mattresses or want to order a razor online or underwear or short shorts, what have you. There's a zillion unicorns out there that have built a huge brand off of being the Warby Parker of X. And the big question for Warby Parker, which has a $1 billion plus valuation itself, was do they want to become a platform, a retail platform, and sort of instead of just selling $95 glasses like the ones I'm wearing, do they want to launch into all these other verticals or double down on vision care?
I'm going to make you take a step back. I'm going to assume we all know what this company is, but just remind us about what they do because they really have upended the way you sell things.
Totally. I mean, just a few years ago, we were talking about the retail apocalypse, and in many ways, we're still talking about this is the one company that sort of bucked that trend. They, back in 2010, Neil Blumenthal and Dave Gilboa came up with this idea to disrupt Luxottica, which was this massive conglomerate in the eyewear space that was sort of a monopoly, a lot of analysts think, when it comes to distribution and licensing.
They own all the eyeglass manufacturers.
Ray-Ban, Sunglass Hut, Pearl Vision, what have you. And they often marked up their frames massive rates. I mean, just if you buy Ray-Bans for a couple $100, they're pretty expensive. With Warby Parker, they had one low price point of $95. It was just very straight for direct-to-consumer marketing, so they sold online, then eventually moved on offline into physical retail. And they've really become known as this sort of bespoke brand that has this end-to-end customer experience that's very seamless. And you've seen a lot of copycats in that trend.
Well, and it is this sort of threading of the needle, as it were, getting toward where it feels like we are, especially high-end consumers who expect high-touch retail, but also the convenience that you get from online. I mean, the process of Warby Parker, it's pretty great.
It's pretty good. I mean, what they became known for was this at-home try-on experience. If you've ever gone to a store and you look in front of that little mirror, it's self-conscious, you feel a little awkward doing that. They send you 5 pairs in the mail, you get to try them on for free, then send them back, and they send the one that you pick once you pay for it. It's a very seamless experience. And if you've been to the stores, especially around in New York, they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, they're very seamless, and it doesn't feel like a stodgy optometry office if you've ever had that experience of being upsold by your doctor.
And you really went right there to one of the tensions of this story, which is, okay, selling a razor online, not that complicated, selling socks online, not that complicated, but when it comes to your eyes, it is a little more complicated. There's a whole sort of established way that people do this.
Well, if you screw up, you can really screw up somebody's eyes.
Really, yeah, there can be infections, there can be eye disease. And so that's a big thing. It's a much harder category to get into, but they think it's an $11 billion market.
The contacts category
and eye exams. That's one of the big things that they have to push into. Because although they've done prescription eyeglasses for a while, for many years, putting something on a piece of plastic, a piece of silicone on the end of your eye, obviously is a little bit more dangerous, especially when you're ordering these things online. They're also part of a big category that Luxottica also owns, which is, they have people that prescribe the contacts. They own iMed, which is the second largest vision insurer in the company. And they've really locked Warby Parker out of that market. You can't buy your glasses in network through vision insurance. And so they basically said, we're going to do this on our own. Instead of just glasses, we're also going to offer contacts and do the eye exams. They're tripling the number of optometrists they have on staff who are going to basically help you with your insurance and then hopefully, sell you contacts and Warby Parker glasses downstairs.
One of the things you get into, though, Austin, so here they are like looking to go from glasses now to contacts, kind of build out the vertical if you want. But what's interesting is I think the question is, are they expanding too late? Like, are they, here they created this model, and now that they're spreading out, did they just wait too long to do this?
I think that's a fantastic question, especially we note in the story, one of their co-founders, Jeff Rader, actually left in the early days to launch another unicorn, which is Harry's, the Warby Parker of shaving, which has a $1.4 billion valuation, I think. And then a couple of their other executives went on to found Away, which is the Warby Parker of luggage, which again has a $1.4 billion valuation. So it's a really good question whether or not they waited too long. At the same time, they really pitched this idea that they don't want to chase the flash in the pan, different verticals. A lot of the VCs that they were talking with in the early days said, become the next Shoe Dazzle, become the next Groupon. And they said, we're just going to be focused on this one thing. We do it really well, and now we're going to expand a little bit more. And they pitched this as sort of the anti-WeWork. They don't want to be this crazy, massive $100 billion overnight SoftBank investment. They want to be the mature, step-by-step, incremental growth company.
Well, and I feel like that speaks to who these two guys are. You get into it a little bit of kind of how they manage this company, their approach.
They're very, if you spend time with Neil and Dave, they're very precise. They're as precise as the prescriptions in their glasses. they really have this attention to detail. They're not, the Adam Newman type characters that are just going to sort of brag about, tomorrow we're going to triple the size of this. One of the guys said, we're comfortable launching 33 stores this year, 40 next year, 45 the year after that. This is not, we're going to launch 500 stores tomorrow.
Well, and it's also interesting to think about this business, especially this expansion into contacts and eye exams. And you alluded to this earlier, Austin. This is a people-intensive business. There's, in addition to the manufacturing, they're doing, these are big jobs, a lot of jobs in a lot of ways, and high touch.
It's not, what they've also been pitching is it's not just the in-store experience, but all the under-the-hood refinements. They have an optical lab where they do a lot of their manufacturing in upstate New York that has about 100 jobs. And they're also pushing into telemedicine, which is a massive category that we've seen other eyewear makers move into. And that's basically the process of, can you update your prescription using just your phone and a MacBook? Essentially, you can measure the distance between your laptop and your phone, and you can check your eyesight doing an eye exam at home. Seems risky,
I know,
but that could be the future. And if they're pitching it as not a replacement but a complement to eye exams. Some people think it's risky. A lot of optometry community really felt this is a bad move by the industry, but it seems to be where it's headed.
That's Austin Carr. Great dive into Warby Parker, the individuals, the two co-founders behind the company. Their model really impacted the retail industry overall and created so many other companies in other business lines. But what's interesting is, speaking of business lines, Warby Parker now wants to do contacts.
Well, and this decision to go essentially vertical, staying with the eyewear industry when so many people have mimicked their model to get into all sorts of things. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Coming up, Porsche racing ahead into 2020.
And now I saw what you did there. This is Bloomberg.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Startups and research universities like New Jersey Institute of Technology are fueling the innovation economy. And few people are better positioned to see what's on the horizon in New Jersey than physicist and state representative Andrew Zwicker.
How technology is transforming our financial sector is revolutionary, and so much of that is in New Jersey. We are innovators when it comes to agriculture, and there is opportunity now for great transformation in how are we going to grow food in an ever-growing population, and how do we turn urban centers into agricultural centers. Autonomous vehicles is another one where we have some of the world's leading experts, and how this will transform how those who are either elderly or are visually impaired or mobilely impaired can start to use autonomous vehicles to transform their lives and have access to transportation they could have never had before.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu/research.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their businesses strategically, yet the most competitive managers in the market know with the right partner and a flexible operating system, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
I'm Steve Meyer, president of SEI's Investment Manager Services. At SEI, we understand the emerging forces that will define success for asset managers and what firms will need to compete tomorrow. That's why we continually optimize SEI's global operating platform. If your business requires greater agility, our advanced technology, integrated best-in-class systems, and multi-asset expertise can be your catalyst for business transformation.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at seic.com/seize change.
You can't be coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and flows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Dreaming of prepping that perfect Thanksgiving feast? Let TuneIn lend a hand with our collection of cooking podcasts, like the Bon Appetit Foodcast.
All right, guys, we have 10 minutes to discuss your expertly spiced and glazed roast turkey. It starts
and
now.
Good food.
So welcome to Good Food. Oh, thank you for having me. So how many years have you been hosting your own?
It varies from year to year, and by my own...
Search Thanksgiving on TuneIn to take your turkey day table to the next level.
College football is live on TuneIn. Listen for free to games from more than 140 schools all season long.
To the 10, all the way to the checkerboard. But he stays on his feet and scores a Tennessee touchdown.
It's college football rivalry week, and TuneIn has your wall-to-wall coverage.
Good throw, he throws right for the end zone. Caught, touchdown, Georgia.
This Saturday, don't miss the game. Kicking off at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, featuring bitter rivals Ohio State and Michigan. The Buckeyes are aiming to keep their perfect season intact.
Edwards-Helaire spins away from a defender. Inside the pylon to the left. Touchdown, LSU.
Then, at 12:30 Eastern Time, it's the Iron Bowl, where Alabama looks to impress the playoff committee without star QB Tua Tagovailoa. But the Auburn Tigers have other plans and hope to play the role of playoff spoiler.
Looks left, fires towards the end zone. Cephas, back shoulder grab, breaks a tackle, touchdown Wisconsin!
Catch all the action this Saturday. Just search college football to find your game.
The news.
U.S. forces in Afghanistan got a surprise visit from the commander-in-chief this Thanksgiving.
This evening, as millions of families sit down at their dinner tables back home, they'll be saying a prayer for the men and women serving our nation in Afghanistan and deployed all around the globe.
But not the only surprise today. Those watching the halftime show of the Fox Lions-Bears game had a little surprise.
It's something.
Yep, the power went out. The brothers Osborne were performing. The outage thankfully only lasted a short time. A surge in millennials putting down roots and starting families is expected to bring a surge in the purchase of Christmas trees this year. The markets are closed for the holiday. I'm Mike Moss.
And I'm Ed Corey from the Bloomberg Newsroom. Global stocks slid along with U.S. futures today after President Trump signed a bill backing Hong Kong protesters. The move raises worries about the prospects for an interim trade deal between China and the U.S. No need to wait until tomorrow, Black Friday, to do your holiday shopping. A lot of retailers are opening their doors today.
In a battle to get hold of your holiday shopping dollars, you can begin shopping 5 p.m. local time today at Macy's, Kohl's, Target, and Best Buy. Most JCPenney stores will open at 2 p.m., and Walmart store times will vary by location. But chains like Nordstrom, Costco, The Gap, Home Depot, Lowe's, and TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods all closed. And state laws in Maine, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island prohibit all stores from opening their doors on Thanksgiving Day. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Food prices are climbing fast in the world's biggest emerging markets, posing a possible inflation threat. Asia's two largest developing economies face a price surge for staple products, pork in China, onions in India, that are central to consumers' diets. Global central banks are approaching the end of the year with a collective shudder at the risky behavior that their low-interest rate policies are encouraging. Bloomberg's Greg Jarrett reports.
Policymakers from European central banks and the Federal Reserve are among those raising cautionary flags at potentially unsafe investing, stoked by their efforts to flood economies with ultra-cheap money. Stock indices from the U.S. to India are at records, and low sovereign bond yields have pushed funds into properties seeking better returns. Greg Jarrett, Bloomberg Radio.
Stocks closed lower in Europe today. The FTSE down about 0.25%. Germany, the DAX down more than 0.33% lower. The CAC 40 in France down 0.25%. In Asia, the Nikkei down 0.1%. The Hang Seng down 0.2%. And the CSI 300 in China down about 1/3%. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ed Corey. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jason Kelly from Bloomberg Radio.
Klaus Selmer is back with us, the president and CEO of Porsche Cars North America, back in New York City. Hannah Elliott.
Porsche, Jason.
I know. I corrected myself. Oh, listen. Anyway, great to have you back with us. Last time you were here, we were downstairs with a car. This year, you're here for the Year Ahead event. So let's start there. What is in store for the year ahead in your business?
Oh, it's all about the brand.
Yeah.
In former times, actually products were building the brand, and now you have to define your brand purpose, and then you build the products, which is a huge shift for us in terms of product planning and in terms of communications.
I love what you say about brand purpose, because a big theme of the year ahead this year is all about sustainability and companies thinking about kind of the broader impact that they are having on our world. How does that obviously work in terms of, I think about, alternatives to carbon-fueled vehicles and so on and so forth. Talk to us about, though, how that plays in with what you're doing.
Well, we're in the first phase, actually, of a transition to battery electric vehicles. 50% of our cars sold in 2025 will have a plug. So it will have either a combustion engine or with a plug-in modules or hybrid or battery electric vehicle. So that transition is taking place as we speak. The first car is out and about. It's the Taycan, and we're pretty happy about the reception here in the United States.
I have to say, I'm very excited. I just had a chance to drive it. Congratulations on that car. I would love to know, why was Porsche the right company to bring out an electric sedan in the performance segment?
We actually had a long discussion when we started looking at the source of business to then launch a battery electric vehicle, whether it should be what everybody looks at, which is SUVs, or whether we should stay closer to our brand heritage and have a fly line that looks more like a 911 or like a real sports car. So we decided at the end of the day, let's not look at the business potential, let's look at the brand. Let's look at what people associate with what Porsche has been known for decades, and that's why the Taycan is actually the right car. It's a bit bigger than the 911, of course, because we need battery size and battery space in order to also fulfill our customers' expectation when it comes to performance, range, charging speed, and so on and so forth.
So, Klaus, when you think about the Porsche customer, how does he or she feel right now about the economy? What are they saying to you about those, sort of how they're feeling, how they're spending as they look ahead to the next year when they come to buy a car?
Well, if you look at our figures, we're in good shape. Even without the Taycan, we're above previous year 6.5%, while the market is slightly down. So I think we've got the right strategy, the right products, the right communications, the right sales force with our U.S. dealers. So we are confident. They are confident buying into the brand, but we're not boiling the ocean here. We're 3 cars out of 1,000 that are sold here in the United States. So we're probably in a spot that we consider being fortunate.
What makes sense for Porsche in terms of luxury brand doing an electric vehicle?
I think if you have the right technology, and if you say this car speaks Porsche, this car is DNA Porsche, and the right technology is there now. We have an 800-volt system with the first manufacturer applying that to a car. We have everything we know about the chassis and the drivetrain embedded in that car. And now, Hannah, you drove it. It behaves like a true sports car. Thumbs up. Thank you for that. So it's the right time. And looking at our order intake, and we're not talking numbers, just before you ask me, our order intake is exceeding our expectations, to put it that way.
All right, so what worries you? Because I do think about how many times we sit around the table here, Klaus, and we're talking about some of the big macro issues, whether it's U.S.-China trade or trade wars in general or a global economic slowdown of some sort.
Interest rates?
Interest rates. Like, what are we missing? What is it that you guys spend a lot of time discussing? Obviously, you want to focus on your brand, getting your message out there, getting a great vehicle out there. But what else?
Well, for us internally, it's customer experience. But let's put that aside. If we look at macroeconomics at this point of time, now our biggest worry, of course, were the tariff discussion. That was something that was hanging like a black cloud above us. Now, it's not gone, the cloud, but it has lightened up a bit. Very recent reports show that I think our messaging has arrived. And I'm not talking just for Porsche. I'm also talking for our mother company, VW. They have just announced an $800 million investment in Chattanooga, creating another 1,000 jobs for battery electric vehicles that will be produced there. We've done our homework as car manufacturers in this wonderful country. We've invested billions, and there are many thousands of people dependent on those cars being produced here and even exported to other countries. So
but that's because it makes business sense, correct?
It completely makes business sense.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, that's a responsibility we are very aware of, and we're living up to it. And I think that has now arrived with the administration. And I just hope that everybody stays calm and believes in free and fair trade.
And that's Klaus Zellmer back with us. He's the president and CEO of Porsche Cars North America, along with Hannah Elliott, our car expert. Love catching up with them. Of course, the last time he came to see us, he brought a car.
We got to sit around, play around with the car. What's interesting, too, is it's more about electric vehicles and hybrids, but we also talked a little bit more broadly about the infrastructure needed to support all of this. So a great conversation. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Coming up, looking into riders' love-hate relationship with Amtrak. That is so true.
And a very tough new CEO. He's cutting costs in the hopes of saving the rails. This is Bloomberg.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
This is
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
At Asda this Christmas, treat them to a gift or 2, or 3. With 3 for 2 on a wide range of beauty and toiletry gift sets. From Dove, Lynx, Bayliss and Harding and many more. Asda, let's make Christmas extra special. Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Individual prices £1 to £20. Cheapest item free.
Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Hey, turn it down. Now play the big hit. That's better. Get our lowest ever price on these Bose QC35 wireless headphones. With noise cancellation and voice control in the Black Tag event at Curry's PC World. Or get £50 off Bose SoundLink on-ear wireless headphones. Either way, you get 6 months free Spotify in the Black Tag event at Curry's PC World. T's and C's apply.
Going, gone. Some things just don't hang around, like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month, but this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Drive into the in-laws' house for Thanksgiving? Having a long airport layover on your way home? Or maybe you're camping out on Black Friday in quest of the deal of the season. Whatever the case, ease the pain and make it a long weekend to remember with TuneIn. Featuring nonstop music, binge-worthy podcasts, 24-hour news, and live NFL, NHL, and NBA games. At home or on the move, soundtrack your Thanksgiving with TuneIn.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and blows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
The swagger of a perfect dunk. The rush of a three made from all the way downtown. The adrenaline surge of great defense. Can you feel the goosebumps yet? There's nothing like live NBA and nothing like listening live on TuneIn.
Giannis down the lane to the rim, going right corner three. Another one.
TuneIn Premium brings you every minute of the NBA season, so you can be there when it matters most. Never miss the action as it happens. Hear the ball you love. Hear it live on TuneIn. Search NBA today to start listening.
U.S. forces in Afghanistan got a surprise visit from the commander-in-chief this Thanksgiving.
This evening, as millions of families sit down at their dinner tables back home, they'll be saying a prayer for the men and women serving our nation in Afghanistan and deployed all around the globe.
But not the only surprise today. Those watching the halftime show of the Fox Lions-Bears game had a little surprise.
Here's something.
Yep, the power went out. The brothers Osborne were performing. The outage thankfully only lasted a short time. A surge in millennials putting down roots and starting families is expected to bring a surge in the purchase of Christmas trees this year. The markets are closed for the holiday. I'm Mike Moss.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Jason Kelly from Bloomberg Radio.
So you love it, you hate it, and if you live on the East Coast, you most likely have found yourself on the Northeast Corridor of Amtrak for work or pleasure at some point in time. But, and I didn't know this, Jason, there are so many more routes and thousands of miles more that make up the Amtrak long-distance network.
I'm going to say this is my favorite story in the magazine this week. It's such a great tale. Devin Leonard is here with us. He wrote the story. He was on the trains. He was with the man.
I love that he was on the trains.
In charge of the whole enterprise right now. A plane guy turned train guy, Richard Anderson, running Amtrak. Devin Leonard here with us in New York City. So what was the inspiration for this to begin with?
I think Joel had the idea, but we knew
Joel Weber.
Yeah, editor. Joel Weber. Excuse me, our beloved editor. but no, we just knew that there was controversy. People were getting upset with this guy. He was a guy from the airline industry, and it seemed as though some people in sort of the Amtrak ecosystem, sort of train ecosystem, were sort of rejecting him. So we wanted to find out what was going on.
Well, the magazine has done stories on the Northeast Corridor, right, and the problems and the infrastructure problems.
Penn Station.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually a profitable part of the business of the Amtrak business, but you went much more broader out into the country.
Yeah, I took the Crescent down to New Orleans.
What is the Crescent?
That's a train that leaves daily from Penn Station, and it leaves in the afternoon. It's supposed to arrive, in the evening in New Orleans the next day, but it rarely arrives on time. I think about 3/4 of the time. Only about 3/4 of the time it's late. Often 2 hours late. And I wrote it, and it was late, but it was kind of a wild experience. And I talked to all kinds of interesting people and why they took the train, and it was pretty cool. So.
And it's a microcosm in some ways because you go through big cities. You sort of leave the Northeast Corridor that Carol was talking about, and you go all the way to New Orleans through Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and into Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And as you say, there are different people who have sort of different relationships with Amtrak. What did you learn?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Jason, is that, we all think of, I guess we just think of Amtrak as, they own the trains, they own the tracks, and end of story. But that's not the reality. The reality is that they own most of the Northeast Corridor from Boston to Washington. Throughout the rest of the country, they're running pretty much on freight railroad tracks. And they have a very sort of difficult relationship with the freight railroads, and their freight railroads are supposed to give them preference, pull over to the side, let Amtrak trains pass, but that's not what happens most of the time, and it didn't happen on the Crescent when I took it.
And this blew me away, and I loved the sort of phraseology. Everybody talks about like the freights, right? And there's sort of this argot that is limited to this world.
They call them the class ones, anyway. But
so you can really go deep on this. But you're right. This has created a very tense relationship. And going back to Richard Anderson, who's now running Amtrak, this is the main thing he's really got to figure out is this relationship, right?
Right. Because basically, people will take a train that's on time, and that's why the Northeast Corridor is very successful. Of course, there's a ton of people. It's very dense, densely populated area.
Right.
It's hard to get around on the highway.